join you all this morning for your virtual faculty professional development. And Dr. Lamb is just taking me through the ropes, and he's doing an amazing job. I'm truly impressed um, with his skills, talent, and making sure that our adjuncts are prepared to meet the needs of our candidates. And so I'm really, really excited, and I just want to log in just to thank him in front of just to let you all know that we're going through the accreditation process. We're going to be asking more of our adjuncts and the conceptual framework. You would please.
Can they? I'm assuming they can't see me.
As part of the process, the diagram, because we may need to bring in our adjuncts for the interview process, and that's something that also they need to discuss in each of their courses as they move forward. So thank you again, and you all have a great day. And at some point in time, I would log in. And Dale, if you feel you're finishing earlier than scheduled, you could just give me a call on my line, and I will join if there are questions.
Is that right?
Yeah. I'll do it.
That you like for me to discuss. So thank you all, and have a great Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dale, this is Rod. Did you get my email about that clinical?
I did, and I responded. They're the same handbook by design.
You want me to come up and find
Okay. Well, I've got an old clinical coach handbook here.
Yeah, I
I
sent.
think the difference is asynchronous and synchronous. But
Let me.
the way you want to.
Okay. Let me see. Let me
Yeah,
unmute.
it's right that it is 2.5 hours during the weekend.
Yeah, I traded.
Let me mute everybody to start with here. Good morning, everybody. What Rod is referring to is I'll handle that question quickly. I sent out the new site mentor handbook and the clinical internship handbook. They are the same thing. The cover page is all that's different. That's an alignment issue. That was one of the things that we found in the process, is that we have to be aligned with everything. What we tell our site mentors is exactly the same thing that we have to tell our interns. And so that's one of the things that I've been working on, is making sure I'm crosswalking all of our documents to make sure that they are all the same. That's one of the things that was pointed out during the CAPE process that Dr. Bull was just referring to, is that we have to make sure that we have certain things in all these documents and that they're consistent throughout the documents. And so I figured the easiest way is just make a common document, label it 2 different ways, but that way we're sure that the content is the same, not only for our candidates, but for the folks that are working with them. They'll see the same things, and there won't be, they won't have to sit and compare, well, this one says this and that one says that. So hopefully we have, hopefully we have those consistent. I'm going to unmute everybody. I'll give everybody a few more minutes to get online here. Let me see, unmute all. So everybody make sure you understand that we're online. Is that me making that racket? Or is that somebody else? But anyway.
I think it's somebody else.
Let me do this. All right.
Ooh, it's your feedback, I think.
I think it's my feedback. Well, that's not good. Let me do something here. Let's see how that works. Doesn't work any better.
Sometimes phones help with that.
Let me try this. Now let's see. Do I get? No, that's somebody's computer giving me feedback. So when I mute you all, I don't get it. So that's somebody's like in an open line. It might be working off their office, like it may be Dr. Stone if he's in his office. Let's see. Let me see if he's online here. It may be somebody using a desk phone through their system at the college. So that would either be Dr. Stone or, let me see. Let me see, man. I'm gonna unmute everybody. And then, let me mute him. Nope, wasn't him. Let's see. Might be. All right, let's try that. Yep, that was it. Dr. Sanders, it was you. I figured it was. Nope. Wait a minute. Wasn't Dr. Sanders? Yeah, it was. Let me mute her again. Yeah, that's Dr. Sanders. It's her. If she's working off of her computer at school, they have. We have to mute those. So that's it. Let's see. Is Dr. Brown with us this morning? Dr. Brown said she would try to join us this morning. Those of you, I know everybody knows Dr. Sydney Brown from our curriculum and instruction department. Dr. Brown has been appointed the new dean of the graduate school. Dr. Rogers has retired. Dr. Brown has taken over that position. And so we welcome her, and we're excited to work with her because she is ultimately planned and prepared. It's especially going to help in the area of IRBs and dissertations and those kinds of things. For those of you who are involved in that, I know she's giving that some attention already. And so hopefully that process will become easier. Let me see. I'm going to, let's see, let me, I've got to send another one. Let me do a new, let me see. I'm going to do Danny and send that one. Danny just sent me a text that he didn't get the email. Let's see if he gets it now. All right. I think that's it. All right. All right. I've got, let me get out of that and get back to the agenda. All right. Here we go. So here are the things. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Again, here are the things that we're going to cover today. I've got 3 hours set aside for this. Hopefully it won't take that long, but you never know. But we'll just work through. All right. So we're going to start this morning with data outcomes. Gardner Webb does a senior exit survey, and that's for all folks completing programs. Dr. Tubbs puts that together. We have our completer final reflections. We have that embedded in our 605 shell. I got a lot of those. I have assessed that data. It's qualitative, open-ended, and we let the themes emerge that students think are important. And so I've done that. We'll cover that this morning. We'll look at Blackboard shells this morning, your class shells and your clinical coaching shells. Then we'll look at task stream requirements by cohort. And then we'll look at Zoom and YouTube, making sure that we are using those appropriately. Dr. Bull gave his welcome this morning. I've welcomed Dr. Brown. I have one more welcome this morning. We have a new adjunct in High Point, Dr. Jamal Crawford. Dr. Crawford has worked with us. He will be joining myself and Dr. Stedman in our 601 group, along with Dr. Todd and Dr. Tillman. We'll be doing the add-ons this fall. We'll have 6 classes of those. Dr. Church, let me pull that up. Dr. Church and Dr. Sumner will be doing the regulars. So it will be me and Danny doing 4 classes and Dr. Todd doing 2. So those are the 6. As you can see on your screen, the coaches. that are assigned to them. Jamal I'll be working specifically with him. Let me see, got a question. There he is. Jamal is stopped and said hi. Welcome, Jamal. Appreciate you being here this morning. And so I have another welcome as well, and I don't know why he's got his, well, let's see. There's a chat. He was stopping to say that he's got school starting, so he's with his teachers this morning. Of course, you know they have faculty work day. I also want to welcome Dr. Steve Stone. Dr. Stone is with us this morning. Dr. Stone is our new full-time person here on campus. Let's see. Let me see what that was. Phyllis says she's having computer problems. Okay. All right. So I think that's it. But Dr. Stone most recently retired as superintendent in Caldwell County. And so we have added him to the schedule. He only has one class, as he will be teaching a class in LS this fall, the doctoral program. And so he will have one 605 class. Dr. Stedman will be working with him. And so I'm catching emails and texts at the same time from folks. Okay. All right. So welcome, Dr. Stone. Welcome, Dr. Crawford. I see Dr. Stedman has joined us now. So looking at the schedule for the fall, again, Stedman, Lamb, Todd. That's the add-on licensure people. Our coaches are listed there. Dr. Crawford will be joining myself and Dr. Stedman. He'll have one of those classes. Dr. Stedman will have mine. Dr. Tillman and Dr. Todd will be working again as usual. Dr. Pickard will be with Dr. Sumner as usual. Dr. Bullis, welcome, Joey. He's with Dr. Church. I'm sure Jeff's involved with getting school started in Caldwell this morning. 1603 class we have is Dr. Talent. She said she's having trouble getting online this morning, but she'll have that with Dr. Bullis. He's had those interns all the way through, so that will be a good one there. She has a shell. I built her a shell. She's good to go. 605 add-on. Dr. Wilson and Dr. Stedman are teamed again. They had a good summer. Dr. Wilson does her own shell, so she should be good. Dr. Robertson and I worked Saturday. He now has his shell up and running. Sarah Whitaker, Dr. Whitaker will be with him. Dr. Whitaker will have a 605 class with Dr. Pickard. As I said, Dr. Stone, we worked and built him a new shell. He's up to speed. He's passed his Blackboard training. We've done a little in TaskStream, and so he's ready and raring to go. Dr. Stedman will be his minder this semester. Dr. Neal, she and I conversed. She got her shell together on Saturday or Sunday. Anyway, she's through. She and I have worked. She's through on her shell for 605. Dr. Whitaker will be with her. I do have one change down here so that Dr. Tillman can focus on 601s. We're going to have a bunch of those. I have moved Dr. Zontz into her place in the 604. So Rachel will have two 604s to coach this semester with Dr. Sanders. She will have the 3 604 classes. Welcome this morning, Dr. Sanders. She's our full-time person, and she's basically my boss because she remembers all the stuff that I don't. And then Dr. Robertson will be coaching with Rachel with her. So that's the schedule for the fall. We will have many more classes in the spring, and so I think everybody's teaching pretty much except for Rachel, but I've got her coaching, and so we will add more folks in the spring as I'm anticipating probably 6 new classes in the spring. We've got 8 this fall. If our numbers stay true, we'll have about 6 more new classes, and so there'll be plenty more to do in the spring. We're adding, hopefully Dr. Crawford will have passed his Blackboard training and online certification by then, and we'll add him in the schedule. There'll be more classes, and so recruitment's going well. We've got about 150 new ones this fall. That's about how many we started with last fall. So our numbers are still strong. Very pleased about that. So that's good. So I think I've done all the welcomes. If I've missed a welcome, unmute yourself and tell me, or send me a chat if I've missed somebody or something this morning. All right, let me move this back to the side over here. Okay, so if I get those. All right. Dr. Stone, if you could turn your video on where they could see you and put a face with a name, I think everybody else. I see Dr. Neal's joined us. So there's Joey. And we got that. So Dr. Stone, can you give us a picture? Anyway, so that's the schedule. All right. Anybody have any questions on the schedule? Everybody knows what we're going to be doing? All right. That's that housekeeping piece out of the way. We're going to need to add in this is for our instructors. We're going to need to add the Gardner-Webb School of Education conceptual framework. It's an actual picture. It's a circle with small circles in it. We're going to need to add those to our syllabi. I'll work on getting those for us today. We can put them on our course overview page. Or we can put them let me close that. We can put those on our course overview page. Phyllis is with us on our phone. We'll put them here on our course overview page, that conceptual framework. That's a CAPE requirement. We'll also put it on our syllabus, but I've got to get an electronic copy of it first. That's copyable. Screenshots won't work. I've already found that out. And so I'm working with technology to get that. Dr. Stone says he doesn't have a camera on his office computer. That's a blessing for us all.
We don't believe it. You're just trying to hide the good stuff.
That's right. I'm trying to. He resembles that. All right. Oh, good stuff this morning. All right. I've got a couple of things, again, housekeeping things I want to cover in our shells, just as a reminder. Again, we're going to have to add that conceptual framework to our course overview and to our syllabus. In the shells, I'm kind of out of order here, but while I'm here, in all of your shells, I have added grade of incomplete policy and withdrawal policy. These are in your class shells. Make sure you review those before we get started with the semester. We have a lot of problem with those. Make sure that you know the rules so that when students ask, you can refer them back. It'll be in their class shell. This saves a lot of headache for our registrar in her office. She is really good. I want to thank Luann Skates and Stephen Sane in their office. They do a wonderful, Sherry Jackson, Becky Tony in the finance office. They do a wonderful job working with us. You said, well, why'd you call out Becky Tony in the finance office? One of the things that you need to understand is when we start talking about withdrawals and incompletes is there's money linked to those things. And that's why we have to make sure that we follow the rules. There's both financial aid and billing and scholarship awards. Those kinds of things are tied to enrollment, withdrawal, and incomplete, starting loan payback, those kinds of things. So we need to make sure that we know what the policy is and that we give the proper advice up front and then refer them to the registrar. If we let somebody drop a class late, there's a prorated part or if they never attended, they get a rebate. It all becomes very complicated and over my head. So we need to make sure that we understand that when we start talking about classes, withdrawing, giving incompletes, that there is a financial piece to that as well. And so we may have to make sure that we cover the university policy. So those are in your shells as well. Make sure that you see and know those. I had them in for the summer. They're back in for the fall. Make sure that we know about those. All right. Checking things off my to-do list before we get in there. Now, another thing that's not on the agenda, that's just an FYI kind of thing. We need to be real careful about putting documents from South Carolina in our shells. Not to do that. It's kind of hard to explain, but going through the CAPE process has kind of defined it for us. We are not a provider in South Carolina because we don't have a brick and mortar presence there. We have an articulation agreement where they get our certification through our process. They take the praxis and get certified in a reciprocal agreement with South Carolina. However, we are not a provider. Our program is not directly linked to certification in South Carolina. It's to North Carolina. They get a reciprocal license once they take the praxis. So we're not to in any way intimate or say that we are a provider in South Carolina. We have to be careful. We have students in several states, and I am working on a document for federal compliance right now about what you have to do additionally in those states to get licensed, but that we only work through reciprocity. We can't get you a Tennessee or South Carolina license. We can get you a North Carolina license. You apply for reciprocity as a candidate. You do their additional requirements, and you can get certified in their state. So that's the way it works. So one of the things that I often say is you have a similar document in your state, but we're not to have that in our class shells because that implies that we are a provider in that state. We are working toward being a provider in South Carolina, but we have not done that yet. And so, for example, when we start working in the teacher working conditions survey in North Carolina, I'll point out that you have the advanced ed survey in South Carolina, but I'm careful not to have the advanced ed survey in my shell. That would be misleading and represent something that we do not want to misrepresent our role in these states. We have to be very, very careful. It's a federal compliance issue called SARA, S-A-R-A. We have to be very careful that we don't imply in any way that we are a provider in states that we are not providers in. And we are only a provider in North Carolina at this time. Anybody have any questions about that? That's one of those things that's popped up during CAPE. That's a good reminder for us all. All right. Last thing on my reminders. Every week I want you to start your class with this. You have one of these in your shell, a weekly schedule. I was reading an article over the weekend about retention, and one of the things is retention for working adults, and how many of them drop out even after they've completed as much as 75% of the classwork. And one of the things that it pointed out for retention strategies is what really helps with those people is a weekly reminder of where they are. Now, Danny is really good about sending out weekly reminders, email style, in terms of this is what we're going to do this week. Now, we have it by week in our shells, but we should have this document. But the way we should start every class is a reminder of, all right, this is week one. These are the topics. These are the reading that we're to do. Here's your assignments and discussion board, and here's the evidence artifact work required. We should go through that and answer any questions at the beginning of every class session. Now, your coach may cover the evidence artifact things for you, or you may do it yourself according to how you do that. That's up to you. but I need for the instructor every week to point out what's due that week. And even though I know that it's right here in your weekly sessions and it's right there in your weekly class schedule, make sure you start out your class every week reminding adults where they are and what's required. Research says that that's a very good retention strategy. It doesn't do us any good to get all these students if we lose them all. As you know, we're going through the CAPE process now. The document was sent on Friday. A lot of people did a lot of work tying all those evidences in. But as we move forward in the CAPE process, let me remind you that outcomes now matter. When I say that, what that means is the first thing that we're going to be evaluated on is our retention rate. Not losing, we need to be at 85%. That means we need 85% of the folks who start in any particular cohort to finish on time with that cohort. Now, as you know, as we just went through the summer, that is really a struggle with fall start add-ons because they finish in the 10-week summer session. And you've really got to hit the ground running. I talked with Barbara the other night, or I talked and she listened for an hour. That was a fate worse than death. But she and I and Danny are committed again this fall to making sure that when you get them in 603 and 605, that they're at least on track and maybe ahead, and that we've got them planned and prepared, and that we can get them through on time in the summer. It is not easy. I know all you folks that taught 605 this summer, thank you so much what you did, and I know how hard it is. But the more work we do with them up front in 601, and the better we prepare them, the better it's likelihood to get them through in the summer. I was so pleased with our completion rate in the spring and in the summer, but we've got to keep that going, and it's not easy. But again, we're going to be adjudicated on that. The question is what's the current retention rate? We're actually at about 90%, but we can't rest on our laurels. We've been working hard for the last 2 years on that retention rate. We were at one time below 40%. We're now in excess of 90%. But that didn't happen accidentally. It's all about how you get them started, how hard you work with them, making sure every week that you cover what's due with them. The coaching model has helped tremendously. I won't take any credit for that rise. It's the coaching model where we have the person that works with them. Now, Danny and I's model is, and Steve this summer, I covered the evidence artifacts in 603. And when students turned their work in, I reviewed it in discussion boards, and the ones that I couldn't work with on just a fairly quick and easy basis, I referred them to my coaches. They worked with them individually. Now, I coached for Karen this summer, and I had one that I worked with every day. Every day, but we can't stop the classes when folks get behind. That's part of that retention strategy is you got all these students that aren't getting it. What are you going to do? I mean, if you just keep on going, they'll drop out. Well, that's what the coaching model is for. And that's why we developed those coaching shells. We can drop those students over into the coaching shell, and we can work with them more individually. Coral has worked with Willie to the point of I'm just exhausted reading the emails, much less how hard she's had to work with him. But that's the whole notion, that we're not leaving any of them behind, that we have a model. It's kind of like a high school for Jamal. It replicates a high school really, where we drop them into a second shell and work with them individually, and don't stop the class and slow everybody else down. It works just like a high school reloop. And so that's the biggie. Aligning all of our materials has helped on retention. Cleaning up some of the courses, we've rebuilt 601 shell, and we come online 2 times a week with 601s. to give them the support that they need. That helps tremendously. Danny and I come on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I know you folks, when you teach 601, you really need to come online 2 times a week at least for the first month. Make sure that they know what they're doing and to give them the support that they need. 424, we're going to talk about that today, how fast you get back to them. That kind of leads me into the morning discussion on our data. So that's where we're starting this morning, is on our senior exit survey. We'll look at the specific data. I was very excited about the feedback. Everybody was either satisfied or highly satisfied. And so what'd you like best? Ease of online classes, helpfulness of professors and advisors, supportive faculty, the availability, caring professors, online classes and professors in the MEL program, values and morals the same as mine, the organization of the program, professors, building relationship with my peers and professors. Courses were fantastic. 2 of them were misguided and mentioned me by name, so we had two that weren't too smart, but I appreciate the shout out. Interactions with my classmates, Zoom conferences, true concern, professors, that and what they wanted was quick turnaround. They liked immediate feedback. There's Dr. Stone, wave at everybody. They want immediate feedback. That helps with retention as well. Not only does it make them happy customers, it keeps them being customers. And so 424, now what does 424 mean? It means that in whatever form of media that they got in touch with you on, whether it be Zoom or a phone call or an email, that needs to be returned in 4 hours. And the 24 is, we need to have their work graded in 24 and some comments back to them, some feedback on their work. Now you say, Dale, that's that's really tough. Our biggest competitor in the state of North Carolina now is guaranteeing that. Western Governors is guaranteeing 424, and they're our biggest competition. Winthrop or Wingate or those, High Point, they're not our competition. Our competition is Western Governors, Southern New Hampshire, Grand Canyon, and Phoenix. Those are that's the league that we're playing in now. When we bring in 150 new students a semester, we're playing in that league. And what makes them great is they advertise coaches, but they also advertise quick turnaround. And our students want that. That's that relationship that you get back to me quickly. It means here's one of the things that came in on the senior exits. It means a lot to me that you always got back to me via email, phone call, or Zoom by the end of the business day. That's important to me. The program was perfect for me, and I appreciate all the hard work the parties involved put into the program. They like that quick feedback, that return. They want their work in Blackboard. When they put work in Blackboard and discussion board, they want to see that you, even if you just say good, excellent, fine, they want to see that you read it in terms of their assignments. You don't have to give copious feedback, but they want to know that you went into Blackboard every day, and that that their work was evaluated quickly in task stream. So if it needed to be returned, that's important to them. That's what they wanted. Let me go back to the previous one. Move that out of the way. All right, so let's start with a little data disaggregation from our senior exit survey. All of our folks were either satisfied or very satisfied. with everything about the program. A lot of the things that they weren't as satisfied about were things that we really have no control over. The available number of course sections, we have no control over that. Drop add, things of that nature. And so most of these things we can't really address, but we'll certainly do our best. Students account billing, that kind of thing, we don't really have, but that's why I pointed out, let's make sure that they understand about withdrawing and dropping and adding and incompletes. Maybe that will help get that number a little bit higher over into the very satisfied category. That was one of the things that jumped out at me, was that 45% were only satisfied, but as opposed to very satisfied. That we need to make sure that they understand those kinds of things. The campus bookstore, trying to do that. That's an internal thing. We're trying to do a better job to get them to have books available sooner. Some students want them, before the previous semester even ends. The bookstore, because of, I guess, space and availability, they usually don't have books available until like today, the week before they start. That's something that we're working to try to get them to understand, that they need to have books available pretty much all the time. But again, that's on me to work on those things. So would you choose to attend Gardner Webb again? Great program with a lot of support. Pleased the classes had to take the knowledge of the professors. Very helpful and caring professors. Great online masters. Good experience. Professors were professional and personable. Staff members were great. The site was easy to follow. I like this. We didn't have any students to say that we weren't challenging or not challenging at all. We only had 9% to say that it was average. 59% said it was somewhat, I had to push myself, and 32% said it was extremely, I had to work hard in most of my courses. That speaks to our rigor. So those numbers, I am very pleased with our completion rate, our retention rate versus the rigor question here. Now, we could drop the rigor and get more people through, but that's not the point. We continue to try to add rigor to our programs while at the same time monitoring this. So I'm very pleased that we didn't have anybody say that it was, an online diploma mill. So that's good. Again, I read you some of the things that they like. What do we really need to improve? Clinical coaching support. That was from some of the folks who started out when it was random. I kind of tracked those down. That has improved greatly with the pairing of the coaches with the classes now. We got the two groups that Danny had this summer, the 605 regulars. They started out with just random coaches and didn't come online with them every week. And so we got dinged on that one. And so that's something that we've already addressed. That feedback was coming through consistently is when we had a class of 20 students and they had 10 different coaches, they didn't like that. They like having one coach with the class that comes online with them on a regular basis. That has come through very strongly in the feedback from students. They like the model where the coach is paired. Everybody in class has the same coach and they come online with them on a regular basis.
Dale?
Yes?
Quick question. Number 12. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, is that anything we can have any control over? The site mentor allowing our students to have more opportunities for internship activities?
Yes, no.
Okay, how do we deal with
And
that?
that's one of the things that I wanted to spend a little time on this morning. Later this week, looking at my calendar, Dr. Stone and I are going to go to North Gaston and see. She was Lynn Faller. She's now Lynn Marotta, but she's one of our continuing students. And her site mentor has changed. The AP that she was working with has left, and her principal has decided to take her over. One of the reasons why I want to go and speak to that principal specifically is she wasn't getting as many opportunities as she needed. So one of the things that we can do is make sure we tell our candidates, let us know. Let your CC2 know that you're not getting the opportunity to do some of these things on your clinical hours, and we'll send our CC1s back out there to talk with those principals again. I do that a lot. I've made 100 of those visits over the last 8 years, where I make a second visit where I sit down and, can we sit down and I remember the last time I had a major when I went to Myers Park High School. And I told Mark Bosco, who was principal there at the time, Mark's still principal there, but that, Darlene Sanders wasn't getting enough opportunities. And he acknowledged that because she was a CTE teacher. And you have to be careful about assigning what you can do with a federally paid teacher. Exactly right. It wasn't that Mark didn't want her to have experiences. She was a federally paid teacher. We get into those kinds of issues. So he and she sat down in his office, and we sat down and looked at the activities, and we made a schedule of when and where she could do those things outside of her normal federally paid duties. It wasn't that he didn't want to allow her those opportunities. He could not give her release time because he wasn't paying her salary. Those are the kinds of things you find out if students give us that feedback. So can we make a principal give them opportunities? No. Remembering that these people self-select. The principals might not think that this person should be in the program, but we owe it to them to try to go out and work with that principal again, or to sit down and maybe broker some kind of a deal. I mean, I went to East Columbus High School and brokered a deal for CG with her principal. And, I walked in and I looked around. You're always trying to figure out how I'm going to approach this. What leverage am I going to use on this person? I walked in and I saw immediately the person's degree on the wall from NC State. And I said, aha. And so I asked him, did he sit on the red side or the white side in Reynolds Coliseum? And immediately he was like, oh, you're one of us. And I said, yeah. I was there during the day when we were winning the national championships, and so we talked about basketball and playing baseball and those kinds of things. And then all of a sudden the veil lifted. Now that was just luck, but I couldn't have got lucky if I hadn't went out there. I mean, I drove all the way to East Columbus High School, which is nearly to Wilmington. But the harder I work, the luckier I get. That was just absolute luck. But I was there to get lucky. That's the point of that story, not how good I am. Y'all already figured that out. But I went, and that's how I got lucky. So we're going to have to go. We're going to make all of our visits this fall. We'll meet all of our new people. But if we've got people who are not being successful and you're coaching them, let us know, and we'll send the coach back out there again. We'll send the CC1 back again to see if they can negotiate a deal with that principal to get that person more access. And so, yes, that is an issue. That is a problem. And we've known that for a while, that the quality of their clinical experience is sometimes out of our hand if they don't have access. It's up to us to try to get them that access. That's a great question, Steve. Yeah, that's what we need to work on.
Dr. Lamb, there are a few that the principals change midway and they don't know their people and they don't want to give them some of the same things that they've been doing. And so we run into that as well. And then sometimes we have really weak students that the principals don't really trust. So
Yes,
there's all kinds of stuff we run into.
exactly right. You don't know till you go out there. And that's what I was referencing before. Thank you, Dr. Todd. Marva's exactly right. These people self-select. Sometimes the principal is new and don't know and don't trust them yet. That's why Dr. Stone will be on the road as well. We'll send our coaches back out, but when we have one of those special situations like that, sometimes we need to send a full-time person. And I know that if it was me going still, I can't do any more than the coaches can do. But sometimes if we come out with, if they know we made the effort to come out from Gardner Webb and we know that student, sometimes we can overcome that. Sometimes we can't. But Dr. Stone will be he will transition into the role of clinical supervisor. The role that I've been holding for the last, I don't know how many years. This job
We're losing your voice.
Pardon?
I couldn't hear you there for a minute.
Oh, I turned to the side probably.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gene. But that'll be part of the things that Dr. Stone will have to help us with. And I'm available to make some visits as well. Full-time folks are just going to have to, the clinical supervisor may have to go out and negotiate about that. It helps.
If we have interns that we feel like their CC1 needs to visit, who do we contact about that?
Dr. Stone.
Okay.
And he'll either send the CC1 or he'll go himself or he'll send me. But we need to get somebody out there. That's exactly right. It's a great question. Dr. Stone is going to, that's his role as a full-time person, stepping into that clinical role. We have more of those than you think. We don't have as many as we one time did because we only have, we'll have about 300, 315 students again this fall. We don't have as many of those visits as we had 850. But we still have a good many of those visits. We still have a good many of those where the coach identifies that the problem with the quality of this student's work is they're not getting access to these clinical experiences. You let us know, and we'll either send the coach or one of us will go ourselves as we normally do. That's why Dr. Stone's going with me on Wednesday. I want to make sure that Lynn has not been having the kind of access she needs. We've got the opportunity with her changing to a new principal. We've got the opportunity to maybe help her get better access than she had before. And we would expect to see that access reflected in better quality work, better quality experiences for her. That's exactly why we're going. I went last week to Greensboro and did this. I went last week to Greensboro to try to get Tony better access. She changed schools. And so that's what we do. And that's what we need to be doing. We need to be serving our clients and making sure that we do everything that we can for them to get what they're paying us for. It gets us out of our comfort zone some, but that's okay.
Dale, which Lynn are you going to visit?
Fowler. Well, she was Fowler. Andrea Lynn Fowler. She goes by Lynn. She's at North Gaston High School. Somebody's calling me from South Carolina. Let's see who this is. Hello, it's Dale. I'm fine. I'm on a video conference right now. I'll have to call you back. Thank you. Now, that was a student right there. All right. So, but it looks like she's gotten married. She has updated her name. Either married or divorced. I guess married. I don't know.
Dale, while there's a lull, could I ask, are we transitioning to the coaches staying with the professor rather than tracking with the class, the students?
Well, we're trying to keep them tracking with the classes, but as I've told you, sometimes we have to make adjustments to that. Barbara
Okay.
wants you for both classes of 601.
Right. Well, that's fine. I just want to make sure I don't tell my students the wrong thing
Now,
because
we don't promise that you'll have the same coach all the way through. We try to.
we try to.
We
Okay.
try to, but in cases like that where Barbara's got 2 classes this fall, in order.
Oh, I understand that. And I
Yeah.
like getting kids started out. I
Yeah.
think that's really
Now,
important for us.
hopefully with them, you'll be able to stay with them all the way through. It's easy to do the 3 semesters and keep the same coach. It actually gets fairly hard on the 5 semesters to do that. That's why we can't guarantee it.
Okay, thanks.
And so, yeah, that's a good question. All right. Other questions about clinical experiences? That's a good catch there, Steve. That is one of those issues that we try to work through, and we've designed a system to address that. Anytime you have a program where the students self-select, but they have to have agreement and cooperation and support from other folks, you get into those types of situations. All right, additional comments? I feel this was a good experience. Consider Gardner Webb is going to go into a doctoral course. Experience was good, challenging, rewarding. Enjoyed my time. Considering going in the doctoral program, well-rounded program. And so we've become quite a recruitment tool for the LS program and the curriculum instruction program. Dr. Stedman and I worked with a group at the last, I guess, seated group that we had at Athens Drive. Dr. Stedman had me get the program.
Feels pretty good.
Somebody muted got the dog. Yes, we that's part of it as well. Thinking, beyond just us retaining folks for our program, we are a recruitment tool for our doctoral programs as well if we do a good job. We have a lot of students who've gone on into the LS program, and we have a lot that's gone on into the CNI program because they're pleased with what they get from us. So that's important, that we continue to do those things and do them well. Let's see who else. All right. Questions about
Dr. Lamb?
Yes.
This is Phyllis. I just wanted to see if you could hear me from my phone.
I can, Phyllis.
Okay. All right.
All right. Great. All right. So that's where we needed to start this morning with our feedback, our data from the university. They're very happy with that, and so I am too. But we always have room for improvement, and that's what we've talked about this morning. So I'll go ahead and close that one. Let me see. Final reflection. As you know, in the 605 shell, we asked students to take this little open-ended test, a questionnaire here. It's not a test, a little open-ended questionnaire. I went through and read each one of those and sorted them into themes. And here are the themes that emerged from our 605s that finished this summer. The 4 emergent themes were the value of classes and collaborating with peers virtually through Zoom. They like that. What they like is that you came on every week with them and you added value. You told them, for example, how this law or this policy translated into what they would be expected to do as an administrator, like in 603. We went through manuals. We went through things that they will see once they're in the job. They like that. They like the practical application of that knowledge. When will I see this? How will I use that? That's that hour you spend with them every week. That's the value added. They love the value added, that hour every week that you come on. Now, they may not come on with you, and they're not required to, but they watch those things. They love that hour that you spend with them every week. They want it scheduled at the same time. They don't like it rolling. They don't like Tuesday this week and Thursday next week. They want it to be the same time every week. Even if they're not going to join in, they like that. That's a safety blanket for them, or say, a security blanket for them. They like the class being at the same time every week, and they like the value added part where you don't just come online and read the reading or go over the reading or the assignment. You just tell them what they were to do. You might comment on them, but they want you to add value. Tell me how I'm going to need this. When am I going to see this? How am I going to use this? They want those sessions to be value added. All right. Good. We're adding more students. We got one late Friday. We got one in. So numbers continuing. That's good news. They like collaborating with their peers. They love the relationships that they build with their peers. They feel like that adds a lot of value to the program is them collaborating with their peers. Now, to that end, Danny has worked really hard this summer restructuring 601 add-on. There was just too much stuff in there. And we've cut back on the number of, they still have to do the written peer reviews for AppSell tasks 1 through 4 and AppTel 1 through 3. They don't have to peer review their written reflections, but we'll still do the written ones. But what we've done is we've dropped 2 of the Zoom peer reviews and added 2 Zoom peer case studies because we believe that better fits the CAPE requirement for virtual collaboration. One of the problems that we get when they do peer reviews only online, it's kind of like when you view those, it's kind of like American Bandstand. I give it an 80 because it's easy to dance to. And that's about all the information that they give. We need to develop that collaboration a little bit further according to CAPE standards. We need for them to actually produce a product as a result of their collaboration. Technically, they've already done the product and they're just evaluating it. When we get them, CAPE would like to see us have them collaborate and produce a product. I'm not interested that they do another PowerPoint. That's, as the students would say, that's so last century. But I am interested that they answer the questions collaboratively and that they enter into collegial discussions. And so we think, we've been doing case studies, but we're going to do them. We're going to do fewer, but we're going to do them a little more in depth. Danny has developed that for 601 add-ons, and we're spreading that to our 2 regular classes. Karen's up. We're getting Karen up to speed, and we'll get Jeff and Joey up to speed on those. But that virtual collaboration, they love it, and I think they'll really like doing the case studies virtually. I think, according to what they tell me, and the feedback that I'm getting, I think that they will really enjoy doing a couple of case studies in a virtual context through Zoom. The hands-on applications of concepts in class had a huge impact on me as a school leader. Again, these are representative comments, but there were a lot. They want that value added. A hands-on application. How does this affect me day to day? They like that.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing that improved organizational management and planning skills, that we need to continue to stress those and work with students on those. That was the second one is time management. They learned how it's a must. We have to have those critical conversations with students and tell them, look, I know that if you had a month to do this task, it would be better, but you only get a week. I mean, and you got to be on time. You got to get organized, and that's one of the things that they feel like this program is really good at and stresses, and that develops them as a leader, is that your organizational management and planning skills, time management especially. Personally, I feel that I've grown the most in planning and preparing for tasks, giving them directions, giving them time frames, giving them rubrics. You know, they really like that. And they understand that when the superintendent sends something for you to do, that it's not open-ended, that you need to follow directions and get it done in the time allotted. And so they like that. They like the customer service and the relationship building, that you're on there, you will call them, you will answer their emails, you'll give them feedback, that you will acknowledge them. They like that. They want that quick turnaround. They want that quick service. They want work graded on a regular basis every day. They want their work graded in task stream. They're on pins and needles until they get those scores. But that's part of that customer service relationship building. It's not just that. It's not just what we tell them. It's that we tell them and that we work with them and that we do it in a timely manner. They like that. That keeps the program strong environment. And then practical application of knowledge. They want, you don't have to sit and tell war stories all the time, but they want to hear how these things will affect them, and they want to hear from your experiences where these things will be applied. What is the practical application? When am I going to need this? When am I going to use this? How am I going to use this? Those are the things that they want to hear. So my recommendation, require all instructors to teach live classes weekly. Come online one time a week at least. We're going to come on twice a week with the new ones for at least the first month. Add virtual case studies to extend student opportunities, virtual collaboration. Institute 424 customer service policy. All contacts returned in 4 hours. All issues resolved in 24 hours. That means things graded. Continue to upgrade adjunct faculty with currently practicing administrators. They want that as well. They like to hear from people who are in the field. It keeps all of us old retired people, keeps us current. We added Jamal this semester. That was one of the reasons we're continuing to look to upgrade and add more folks. Not that you folks aren't an upgrade. The upgrade for all of us old retired people is to continue to work at it, continue to read and learn, continue to develop our skills as we go in order to stay relevant. So that isn't a knock on retired people, because I am one of them old people. I am old folks, so I can comment on that. It's just we've got to continue to upgrade ourselves and stay current. To that end, ASA in conjunction, NC Association of School Administrators, along with DPI, does the legal update seminar. I teach 603 regularly, and so it doesn't come out every year, but every cycle it's there. I've already paid and got my hotel. I'll be there next month. Trying to stay current on all these things. I do Blackboard World online. I'll probably try to go to Task Stream this year, to the Task Stream conference, to keep up with what's going on in Task Stream. The reason why I say that this year, they've been bought out by Watermark, and there's some changes to what they offer and what you do in Task Stream now. I need to go and make sure that I'm updated and up to speed on what's going on in Task Stream, since I'm the Task Stream manager. So I'm going to go. I'll probably end up going to that this year. I wanted to go this past year, but I realized that I needed to wait until after the merger occurred and the new format will come. And so I was planning to go this past June, but then I'll put it off till this year, because there'll be all the new changes will be up and going in Task Stream by this year's conference. And so my plan this year is to work on Task Stream and do the legal update for 603. I'll also be keeping an eye out, since I did competency-based, not last year, but the spring before, I did the competency-based track. I'll probably try to do something again with that this year, or it may be next year. But everybody needs to have an idea of what, how you're going to keep yourself ready. Coming to these kinds of things today is part. But we've got to continue to upgrade ourselves and our skills and our knowledge and ability. All right. Well,
Dr. Lamb.
I'm only 5 minutes off on the first section. That's not bad.
Dr. Lamb.
Good job.
All right. Questions on the first section that we had on data. All right.
Dr. Lamb, may I ask a question?
Yes.
If we're going to do this on a regular basis, and I assume we are, is there any way for those of us that are still working on keeping our certificates updated that we can get CEU credits for?
Yes, sir. We talked about that. Dr. Bull is working on that now.
Okay, good.
We're going to.
I have to update this year. That's why I'm asking that question.
We can give you CEUs for CILD. We can give you CEUs for this. We're also, I talked with him at length Friday afternoon. We're going to create a video archive. You can just go on your own and select things that we've got and get CEUs for them. We're going to work to develop that this year. But all the things that like every time we have a Monday meeting, every other Monday, today, those kinds of things, we're going to work on. We'd like to see our folks keep their license up. Yes. That's something that we've had a discussion on, and we're going to try to get that up and going. Yes, sir. And hopefully mid-year we'll have a face-to-face conference on campus again. We just spent all our money on CILD, but hopefully we'll have some more money by the winter conference, and we can bring you in for that one. Again, there'll be CEUs for that one. There'll be CEUs for today. And then once we get that video library up and going, where you can just go in and select the modules you want to work on. The Blackboard training module, like Dr. Stone just did, we ought to be able to grant CEUs for that. If you go to a conference, if you're involved in, I'm talking about an online conference. Yes. So there will be opportunities to continue to keep your certificate up. I think I'm in the same boat as you, Danny. I think I need to renew mine. I renewed mine right before I retired, and it was good for 10. And so I'm up this year, I believe.
Do you guys know you get one free post-retirement, like where you just get it?
Yeah.
Everybody know that?
Then what do you do after that?
Then you have to earn the CEUs.
Yeah. So I said mine
Jerry,
should be up.
I was told that no longer existed. So is it still current?
It's not automatic though.
No, you have to apply.
Yeah, it won't do it for you automatically, but it is still available.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. And so we're supposed to, I think Dean Bull has appointed one of the folks, full-time faculty, to be our certification specialist in this effort. And so to assist us with this. So,
and who might that be? Can I contact you about it?
Contact me.
Okay.
He mentioned it last week at the faculty meeting, but I don't want to throw her under the bus yet. I need to talk with her and see if she's up to speed and prepared yet.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. But yeah, get in touch with me, and then I'll get in touch with her and see if she's prepared or ready for that yet. And eventually we'll take me out as the middleman. We may have to get Karen to help us initially here, but we're supposed to have a person who's going to pick up and follow through on this. I mean, this is about providing a quality faculty, and adjuncts are just as important as full-time people. And so when Kate comes for our spring visit, I mean, I had to update all of you folks, and you had to send your resumes. I mean, they count you the same as me. And so, we got to get a system in place for this.
Yeah.
I mean, for whatever reason, we've only been interested or concerned about full-time people. No, Cape says everybody is the same. If you're providing in our program, you need to be the same as there should be no difference between full-time and adjunct work.
Yeah, he likes to talk.
Students are paying you full-time money.
He's a smart man, I'll tell you that.
All right. Where are we going next? We're going to go to break for a few minutes, or are y'all ready to keep on rolling?
Keep on moving.
Keep on moving. I love it. All right.
My bad, sir.
All right. Let's see. Let me get back to our agenda here. All right. We've covered our senior exit and our completer survey. Let's talk about Blackboard shells for a while. Everybody knows that you have class shells, you have clinical coach shells. I do not have one for Jamal yet. Let me.
Blackboard shells.
All right, so I've muted everybody again. You can unmute yourself. All right, so let's look at class shells again. All right, so here's one from the summer. I have the ones for the fall. I have this one up for a specific purpose. You know, you've got your course overview, your instructor, your syllabus. Again, we're going to have to add our conceptual framework to our syllabus. You should have a first steps. I have all those built in, which is taking your enrollment and verification activity. It's got Blackboard, and then your next steps with your what to do next, get your books, what to start doing, and then some course policies. That should be on your course overview page. I've checked all those. We're good to go there. Course syllabus and program handbooks, the incomplete policy and withdrawal policy. I want you don't have to go in and read those to students, but just point out your first night that they're there. Again, it's about money. And so to keep us out of trouble with those folks, we just need to make sure that students are aware of what they are. Your class weekly schedule. Again, now there's some folks, and according to how you do it, it's up to you. It's according to the relationship you have with your coach. Now, this is the kind that I build for me, because I cover my own evidence artifact work in 603 or 5. So I add, you see that far right column, I have my evidence work on my weekly schedule. Now, some of you delegate that to your coach. That's fine with me. So yours would look more like this. And your coach would make a separate schedule, and I could show you one of those as well, would make a separate schedule. Now, we have a separate schedule in 601 because we do two different sessions each week. So for 601, let me see if I can find one without causing too much pain here. So in 601, as you can see, we've got a whole schedule for them on task stream. So we'll close that out. So again, it's according to how you use your coach as to whether your weekly schedule will include task stream or not as an instructor. Now, if you're a coach and your instructor has one like this and it doesn't have task stream on it, you need to make sure that you create one like I just showed you that has all the individual dates for task stream in terms of when things will be due. A separate schedule for them if you're going to do separate sessions with them. So make sure that you understand we don't want any gaps here. If you are working together and coming online together and then doing a second session, you can have a separate task stream schedule. But if you're only coming on one time a week, like in 603 or 5, you should have it all in one. You should have it all in one. Now, the way that I do 603 is I come on every week, I cover it all. And I cover the evidence artifacts as well. And I use my coaches. I just refer them. I want them to spend their time with students. And so I refer students to them. They work with students individually. They don't have to come online with me every week or a separate time each week in 603 or 5. 601, we want you on, that's a different story. The notion here, and students have figured it out, and we tell them, it's not a secret. We start you out with way too much support, really, because we want you to feel supported. But just like with the evidence templates, we pull back as we go because we want you to emerge as a leader. So for 601, for the AppSell and the AppTell, we have very complete templates, what their work should look like, what should go in it. When they get to 603, we tell them, we're only going to come online one time with you in 603. You're going to have a template for the OMA. It's not going to be as fleshed out as these two. You'll need to add some to it. And then we won't give you a template at all for the skip. You got to build your own. We got to teach you to build your own. We get you to the CAP. Again, you're on your own. Now, we will give you a kind of a roadmap template for the SIOP, where to go to find the work that you'll need to put it together. But we won't tell you exactly what work from there. We'll just tell you, go to this area and find this task. You got to know what's relevant to the questions you're being asked here in the directions. That's part of the plan, is to get them to the point where they understand, I've got to emerge myself. I've got to learn to do these things on my own. I can't leave myself in a position where I need to call Dale all the time to figure out what to do next. That probably won't go well on my job. And so we start out with the ultimate amount of support in 601 and move them through the process to the time they get to 605. Hopefully, they don't need that much support. That's the plan here. And so when I talk about what we do in 601 versus 2, 3, 4, or 5, we can't do the same things every semester and expect for them to grow and learn and step out on their own. We have to start with a lot and end with a little. But we don't, that doesn't have to be a secret to students. I tell them all the time, look, I'm gonna wear you out next semester in 603 if you don't get better or quicker than this. You won't make it. I'm not gonna hold your hand every week in 603. You need to start stepping out on your own. We do the same things for 5. Again, it's a process of getting them to where they need to be by the time we get through with it. And again, your weekly schedule has to reflect that process of where you are and how you're going to use your coach. Again, I don't have my coaches do as much in 603, not because I don't trust them, but it's time to pull back a little bit and have them work with the students that need it. Some students don't need coaching by 603. They just need for you to get out of their way. They're ready to run. Others need it. And we're trying to provide what they need. Let me go to the chat here. Dr. Bullis, the gradual release model is very much evidence-based, perfect for the progression of this program. Thank you. Thank you. We actually have somebody who's done a little research. I base this out of current research, but the philosophy of this is found in the writings and teaching of Malcolm Knowles, who I am a disciple of his adult learning models. If you want to read more, again, it's Malcolm Knowles with a K.
Yeah,
But
I
again,
just wanted to interject that because I say Dr. Robertson's holding the book as well. We had just did an extensive professional development with all the teachers in our system on instruction and the gradual release model and using it in classroom instruction. So it was a huge coincidence to hear you talking that and recognizing what that is. So I appreciate that. I think that's excellent.
Thank you. This is research based. We're trying to make our model research based and be responsive to the feedback that we get from our students, but also make this research based. And you're exactly right. The gradual release model is very much in vogue now, because it's a great model for working with even with student learners, but especially with adult learners. That's one of the things that Knowles talks about a lot in his writings and teaching. And that's the system that we're trying to put our students through. It's not just haphazard or random. There's actually a method to the madness. That's why I said it's not a secret. You can tell them. I do all the time what we're trying to do with them. So they'll play along. They get it. that there is that this is evidence based. This is based on data and research that this is the model that we're using. We didn't select this at random. So thank you for that. Absolutely. So that's, again, there can be some variation in how you use your coaches, but what we want to see is a gradual release of them, of the students, so that they can leave the nest and fly on their own. That's the notion here. We need for them to be able to hit the ground running when they get their jobs. Now, I mentioned earlier that one of the things that we're going to be evaluated on through the CAPE accreditation model is retention rate. We're also going to be evaluated on how many of our students get jobs. To that end, you know, we do some interviewing, and I sent those out. We do some interviewing skills with them, and we do references. I've got one due this morning that's come in from a school district. But to the point that Dr. Bullis just made, we're going to be evaluated on how well they do in their job as well. Have we prepared them? Have we done the gradual release model where they're now fully formed professionals and they're able to, on their own, go forward? That's part of what we're going to be evaluated on as well. All of the evaluation data for school administrators is dumped into, obviously, the state's database, and they're not going to do it by name, but they're going to pull it out by college, and we're going to be looked at as to how well our folks do score-wise in the job versus other college preparation programs. I feel good that our folks will stand up against anybody's. Our folks are getting a lot of jobs. We're putting a lot of people in the profession, and I believe our folks are ready to lead and do well in those jobs. But again, that gradual release model may be as important, or maybe more important, than any particular skill or content we teach. It's the process of how we get them there, that they're ready to lead when they get there. So that's all part and parcel of that. Okay. All right, back to our class shells. The peer review process. Again, I want all tasks peer reviewed except for the final reflection ones, and that would be AppSelf Task 5, AppTel 4, OMA 4, Skip 4, and you don't have to peer review the SOP. It's already been peer reviewed. They have to peer review all 4 tasks of the CAP. There is no reflect. The last one, it is not a reflection. But I like those written peer reviews. Now, I said that to say this. Once you get out of 601, we've even cut down the number of video, Zoom peer reviews in one to add those 2 case studies. I would encourage you to do fewer Zoom peer reviews, because they're doing the written ones already, to do fewer of those in 2, 3, 4, and 5, and maybe add some other things for them to do on Zoom, like case studies, other than just the only thing that they ever do virtually is peer reviews. I'd like to see us expand that to they're doing more collaborative things where they produce a product. Doesn't have to necessarily be a PowerPoint, but a product for more peer collaboration. Students like that. They say they learn a lot from that. The research says that they do. That's a best practice. And so we've addressed it specifically in 601 for this semester. If you have some things that you want to do virtually with them, but be careful that we don't just do Zoom peer reviews because we got them on the calendar to do that. There could be some other things that have value as well, and that you're doing. I'm sure you're already doing with your students. We need to continue to do those kinds of things. Discussion boards. Now, we have the forums in here. This is a technical thing now. If you did not link, and I normally link these in your shells, If you did not link your discussion board to Grade Center when you set up these individual threads, you will have to come here to discussion board and look under unread post to find student responses. Let me say that again. If you did not link your discussion board forums to Grade Center, you'll have to come here and grade them manually from here where it says unread post. If there's a number there, you click on it and they'll pop up for you. They will not appear in your Grade Center under needs grading unless you link them back to Grade Center. And here's how you do that. Make sure my edit mode is on. Make sure your edit mode is on to the top right. Come to the end of your discussion board question, and when you do, that little arrow will appear. Click on it and go to edit. The default setting is no grading in forum. If you want it, if it's not linked to Grade Center, you simply click on Grade Discussion Forum, put 100 points in. I like to allow author to delete their post and then simply submit it. It will now be linked to Grade Center, excuse me. So that when you go to Grade Center, I had a student put one in this morning for us. When you go to Grade Center and goes to needs grading, guess what? All your assignments and all your discussion boards will be in one place. They'll be in one place. And you won't have to manually go to discussion board to find the discussion, the assignment that they did that week. You know that assignment Dropbox comes here automatically, but you can make discussion board come to Grade Center as well, so that when you hit needs grading, all you have to do is hit the one button for needs grading under Grade Center, and both your discussion boards and your assignments come up at the same place for you to grade them. It's just I know it, may not save you a lot of time, but it's just a quick and easy way to make sure all the things that you need attention to every day are in one place. And now, for me, I have so many different shells, it really saves me time. I don't have to search through discussion boards and miss one here or there. They pop up for me automatically. So your discussion board needs to be, unless you have a reason not to, in your class shell, I like to link my discussion board. You say, well, I really don't want to give them that many points. Well, you can adjust your points. I give 100 points for everything. And then I have a minimum number of points, for the grade in the class. And I don't have to sit and argue with people over how many points or what grade they've got. So when I go to full Grade Center, I can tell who's doing well, who's keeping up, and who's not. And I can send them a little quick email. And so, I can see the number of points that they've got at any one time. And I can tell who's behind and who isn't simply by going to my Grade Center. That's another reason why I link everything to Grade Center is I know what you're behind on. I can see your points. Mm-hmm. And so what I will do then.
Dale, is that a uniform policy that, like the 3,000 points is an A?
No, you determine that by how many you've got and what you think. And if you give less points for some things than others, you can determine what you want it to be. You can look and see what the total is and multiply that by 0.9 and, that many is an A. 0.8, that many is a B. Or, you can do that. I don't want to take your freedom away to do that. And you can determine if some assignments are worth more than others. Now, I make all mine worth the same. That's just the way I do it. It gives me a better idea. Let me see. All right, and so just like this was my last reminder of the summer session. Just a reminder, it ends today. Grades will be assigned Wednesday. You can continue to upload required assignments and be factored into your grading. I gave them the time, and I gave them the points. I reminded them what your points are, and I reminded her of what her current point total was. And then prior to that, just checking in to see where you are. See, it's been a week since you were last in Blackboard. Her points weren't good, and she hadn't been in recently. And I can tell when she was in recently by this last access column right here. I can see when she was last in there. That's not a problem if the points are good. The problem is when your points aren't good, as you can see, her points weren't good. Get back and find her here. There she is. Her points weren't good, and she hadn't been in a while at that time. Now you can see she's been in during the break. I've had her keep on working on her work. She didn't, she didn't get her work in time, and I told her, I said, I'm gonna give you a grade, but you need to continue to work on this work. That was actually her that called me a few minutes ago. And I'm gonna put a grade change in for her because I've had her working. I'm not just interested in what her grade is. I'm interested she's doing the work. And I've been able to follow up and keep working with her after summer school was over. And, I don't want to lose her. But we need to make sure she's ready to go to 605. She can't go to 605 as far behind as she was when she got through with 603. It'd be somebody else's problem. She needs to continue to be mine until we get through this. But again, I can see how many points they've got versus when they were last in here if I've got everything linked to Grade Center, and I can send these emails, hey, you haven't been in a week. Now, if her points had been current, that wouldn't have mattered. But if they're behind on their points, if you're kind of pacing them where they need to be on their points, then you need to be following up once a week. Hey, where are you? Hadn't seen you. I only had two, her and the other one you can see here. I only had two for the whole summer that were behind because my coaches were doing such a good job working with them on the side, Steve and Danny. We only had really one who finished the semester behind. That's her. She called me a few minutes ago. I have her check in on Mondays. So we only had one that didn't make it really, but she still passed the class, but that didn't do what she needed to do to be ready to go to 605 this fall. Only had one, but that's due to their hard work. But I have to recognize that. Me as the instructor, it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm monitoring that I am monitoring what they're doing or not doing. And it's so easy if I have it all linked to my Grade Center. So I pop it up every day. I grade, needs grading, then I go to Grade Center and look, how's everybody doing? And I normally on Mondays send out hey, I didn't hear from you this weekend, or you haven't been in a week, or you're behind on your numbers. But I don't have to do that a lot if I have good coaches working with me. We don't, I don't have to send a lot of emails out. Everybody kind of stays on pace. And part of that's due to the good job the folks in 601 are doing. Students, by the time they get to 603, they know the deal. They're ready to roll. Now you have to do this. Lord, Danny spends half of his time doing this in 601, sending emails. You hadn't been in a day or two, hadn't got your work, you're behind. This is what's due. Again, that's that release model where a lot of support in the front, but that support's based on what they're doing on, we're reacting to what they're doing or not doing. And in order to be able to do that, we need data. This is where your data is right here in your full Grade Center. I would encourage you, when I set up your shells, I link everything to Grade Center. I would encourage you to make sure that everything is linked so that you know day to day where they are in terms of pacing, numbers, when the last time they were in there, You're reading discussion board, their post for review. You're reading those as well as their peers, so that you can refer them to the coach if their work is not where it needs to be. Don't feel like that just a comment or two will get them there. Get them to their coaches.
Dale,
working with them on a day-to-day basis.
I got a clarification question.
Yes, Steve.
On the coach's perspective, okay, the discussion board is a big tool for coaches and giving feedback, and it's not part of the grading system. How is the instructor and the coaches going to differentiate between the two discussion boards if one goes towards the grade book and the other one's just for feedback?
Well, the one for classes, and that's the one I just covered, I expect it to be linked. Now, coaches, when they come to you, your discussion board is just discussion board. It's just for you to work with them. And then they've got to bring it back over to us, to the class, and put it back in. One of the things that I specifically did not link it in the coach's shell to a grade is because I don't want them to hesitate to put work in because they're afraid of what grade they'll get. In the coach's shell, you're coaching, not evaluating them.
Right.
Remember, we're trying to take the evaluative role out of coaching. Again, goes back to research, evidence-based, that if we want them to actually seek the help of their coaches and be able to do it in a formative way, we can't be giving them grades on it. So I do not, in your coach's shell, I do not have discussion board linked to grades.
That's what I need clarification on. Thanks.
And that's purposeful. Again, back to research-based, that your job is not to evaluate them. Your job is to coach them. Two completely different roles. That's why we don't have you doing evaluation of their work anymore. That's why we have blind evaluators who evaluate their work. We want the coaches to be true coaches. That's a great question, Steve. Let me show you that model. And this is very simple. Of course, I'm a very simple person. Here it is. We got the instructor, course content, knowledge, value added. Weekly Zoom sessions, facilitate tasks, peer review, communicate. Coaches, skill development, one-on-one evidence, narrative revision, dispositional development, build relationship with interns and site supervisors, communicate. And then we have an evaluator. And we specifically have 3 different roles for that purpose. This is our model. To go back, this is our conceptual framework. This is our model as a MELS group. This is it.
Dr. Lamb, in looking at what was on task stream and what the evaluators are asked to do, sometimes they don't quite match up. So has anybody looked at task stream to make sure what's in task stream matches what we're doing now?
Well, as I've told students, we can't change those once they are in there. So what we're going to do is, that's a great point. What Barbara's talking about is it may say 604 for the skip, and it's actually done in 603. That's what she's talking about. It's all there, but once you start a DRF, a cohort, you can't change that. And so we're going to try to update some of those things for the fall DRFs when I've already made an appointment and Seth and I've already looked at it, and he's already knows what changes we want to make to that end. So when we start with new groups this fall, it'll be the same things, but instead of saying in 603 you have the OMA only and you have all that stuff in 605, we'll make it match the pacing of the actual course.
Okay, that's not all that I was talking about. I was talking about the actual rubric. Sometimes it will say you want 13, let's say, competencies, and sometimes it's been said to have 21. So we just need to be consistent. And there was another one, I'm trying to remember which one it was, where what was in the rubric did not match what was in the rubric that we were teaching from. So
Right.
that's what I'm talking about, is trying to get consistency and make sure that our evaluators know what's been
Yeah.
changed.
If you'll look at 601, I worked on that. If you look at that 601 syllabus, I went back and cleaned all that language up so it all matches.
Thank you.
We
Thank
just got to make sure that, and I've given that to Seth, that all that will translate to what's in task stream as well. But yes, I spent time and made sure that all that was consistent this summer. That was a day of my life I'll never get back.
Thank you so much.
Yes, exactly. I was aware of that, but again, going forward, the rubrics and the language and the syllabus will all match. And I know where they got offline before was the difference in the requirements for the 5-semester and the 3-semester program. Every semester in the 3-semester program, you have to do 21 competencies. You only have to do half of them in the 5-semester program, and they wrote them in the actual task and prompts as if it were everybody was in a 5-semester program, because everybody was in a 5-semester program until recently when we switched to 3. You know that initially, for those, I guess everybody knows this, initially both programs were 5 semesters, and then starting in the spring of 17, we switched over to the add-on would be 3 semesters. Well, the rubrics were set up for everything on 5 semesters that were in task stream. And so again, we can't change those until we have to do it with the new ones coming on. So yes, I have rewritten all that language. And so if you'll look at that syllabus, I have rewritten that for you in 601. It will now, task stream will match that. Exactly. You're right. But, that was just one of those. I went to Seth before and said, when we changed over, said, can we change this? And he said, no, we can't change it once it's in there. We can build it into the new ones, but we can't change the old ones. That's just a function of task stream. But yes, that's a good catch. I was aware of that, and we've already addressed that. So going forward, that shouldn't be a problem. But you're right. Our evaluators need to understand the difference between grading somebody's paper who's come through the 5-semester versus the 3. It matters when they do their competency analysis in that final task, how many competencies they have to do. And it's dependent upon the program that they're in. If they're in the 3 or the 5. And so we tried to make sure that they understand that as well. So 601 and moving forward, the coach's responsibility, as I said, is establish a positive relationship, make that visit, make sure that they understand the expectations that for the coach and the intern, the competencies, the dispositions, due dates, those kinds of things. You cover that with them. So when you go out and make the 601 visit, the CC1s, you meet with the principal for 5 minutes, thank them, make sure that they've got the electronic copy of the Site Mentor Handbook, that you sent that to them. Some people print them out. I normally print them and take them a hard copy. And then meet with the student for 45 to 55 minutes, where you cover these kinds of things with them. Of course, I've got the script for you. We've got the script for the Coach 1 visits. We'll cover that in just a minute. But this is the coaching role, to get back to Steve's question. And here is everybody's role kind of defined, what you're supposed to be involved in. And remember, the evaluator does not interact in any way for inter-rater reliability, for validity purposes, does not interact any way with students. We don't even want them to know who they are. And we don't want evaluators to know the students, because that way it's a completely objective evaluation of their work. So that's our theoretical model that kind of developed for the MELS program. All right, back to our Blackboard shell. Grading rubric for discussion board post. I like that one. so that students just don't put something simple in there. I agree. Now, I don't do forced response. Now, some instructors do. I don't mind if you do. I tend to get some responses. They'll respond to one another's work, but I don't force responses in terms of you must post and respond to at least one other. I don't force responses. I've read a lot about that, and that's one of those things that I could, somebody could probably make a rational argument, and I would agree with. But if somebody feels moved to say something, that's good, but I don't really want them to just be commenting just because I'm making them. Sometimes what I see is that can lead to a little conflict or a lot of conflict. If you don't agree with what somebody says, maybe the best thing is just kind of keep that to yourself. I've had, I don't want to get a Twitter war started on Blackboard. And so that's why I don't force responses, because I'm afraid of the negative. I want them to collaborate, and I worry sometimes that if we force responses, sometimes people, again, get back to that netiquette issue. Sometimes folks will say things when they're sitting behind the screen they wouldn't say in person, and that's my biggest worry about forced responses, is people might not be kind in their response. And that may just be I've had it to happen. It hadn't happened a lot, but I have had it to happen. And I'd rather us not get into the Twitter war deal where people feel, troll other people and feel compelled to say ugly things back in response. Usually when somebody I get a lot of students who comment, oh, I hadn't heard that before, I didn't know that, or thank you. I'm interested in your experience. I get a lot of that, but people volunteer that. Normally when people volunteer comments on discussion board, they're positive or they're supportive. I found when I forced comments, that's when I got the negative ones. So again, use that judiciously. That'll be up to you. Assignment Dropbox, that's linked to your grade center automatically, and it has the things, the turn-ins that are required for your evidence artifacts in there. I also, for the summer, built a turn-it-in check to be faster. We can put that also in your coaching shells, but I put it in my class shells this summer so that we could, we just didn't have time, to involve too many people this summer. And so we can do the turn-it-in check. Now, if your students tell you that the turn-it-in check won't let me put it in because of the dates, here's how you fix that. If you've got a turn-it-in check box in your shell, class or coach's shell, and it won't allow students to upload because of a bad date, here's how you fix it. Again, make sure that your edit mode is on. Come to the end, hover your mouse, and you'll get that arrow and go to edit. And it may give you a second screen, but if it doesn't, there'll be 3 date boxes over here on the right. Leave the first one alone and go to the second 2 and set them to December 15th. Simply by clicking on the calendar and going to the right over here, you can move it to December, go to December 15th. On the second 2 boxes, it's just a manual, move it down. It's not anything hard to do. Move these both to December 15th, 2018. Let me get some of these things out of the way. And then hit the submit button. And students will then be able to go in and submit to turn it in. You hit OK, and you're back to your assignment Dropbox. So if students tell you, so you might want to check yours now, but if students tell you I can't submit because of dates, you'll need to go in and just do that quickly and change your dates on the second 2 box, not the top box. Don't change it. Now, that leads me to dates on assignments. I don't do any dates on assignments. That's just up to me. I monitor where people are, as I showed you through Grade Center. One of the problems you get into if you put things that I want everything available day one for students. This, making stuff where students can't see it today, no. That's a cake deal. Let me go back and see who's texting me now. Okay, good. When a student opens a course, they should be able to see everything in that course, period. This, this will only be available after this time. No. You got to have everything available to students up front. Now you can set due dates on things. I'm not talking about due dates now. Don't be confused. You can set due dates that you will only accept work after this time, or it'll be graded less, or whatever. I don't have a problem with that. But they need to be able to see everything day one. Remember, these classes are they're asymmetrical. Students aren't required to come on with us every week. We offer these sessions, we view them, but they can work in our shells anywhere they want to at any time. That's part of the asynchronous model is if I want to jump ahead and do something different, if I want to do discussion board 24 this week because it's most convenient for me to interview an assistant principal this week rather than wherever it falls in the schedule, they are allowed to do that. So again, everything should be available immediately today in Blackboard for your students. You can set due dates on assignments. That's not what I'm talking about. But this deal where they can't see things until certain, they need to be able to see everything today. You have assignment dates, things are due. That's a different story. But for some reason we've been hiding things from them and they can only see it at certain times. No, can't do that. Our information needs to be available immediately. That's a CAPE requirement for asynchronous courses. All right. Task for peer review. Now these boxes here, they link to discussion board. I've just got them separate, or you can just have them in these are here. If we went to discussion board, it's the same boxes. I just set this one up to make it easier for students. But these go to discussion board. And if we went to discussion board, we'd see the same 3 boxes. And they're not different boxes. You can only have one discussion board. So if we went to discussion board, see them right there, 1, 2, 3. They're the same 3 boxes. I can show you how to put them here on the menu here, or you can just drop them straight into discussion board. But these 3 right here are just the same thing as discussion board here. It's just for ease of use for students. Again, that's one of those things, those QM tricks, how to build a shell, make it as easy as possible. But don't be confused. This is the same discussion board. They go to the same place as if they were to click here. They can go either place, and it's the same thing. It's not 2 different discussion boards. This is just for ease of use for students. Okay. And then, of course, you've got your Zoom sessions. Now, everything that you're going to cover in that session should be in there every week. It should be there a priori up front. Again, we don't surprise people. That way, if they don't choose to attend, they can still see that material. And then once you get through with that class, you record it, it processes, you upload it to, you upload your Zoom MP4 to YouTube, you upload and process it there, you should put it here. That's in case somebody didn't join you that week. They can see what you did that week, and you've got the materials that you covered and you've got the video. Very important that we have those. Remember, these are asynchronous courses. They're not required to come online. They are to watch the video if they didn't. But we've got all the materials that we're going to cover that week, And we've got the video where we cover it, and they can go back at any time and see these things. Try to keep your videos at an hour or less. And don't do the 15-minute where you just come on and check in. Hey, how you doing? Add some value during that time. Again, student feedback says, we want you to add some value. We want you to tell us how this works in real life. We want you to relate this to practical situations. That's what we expect you to do during the time you're with us. Don't just read us the directions again. Add some value. You got up to an hour to add some value every week. Record it, put it back in there.
Dr. Lamb.
Yes.
We added in our 601 shell too, just as an extra over here to the left, we added a video library so
Yes.
that we could place all of those in there, and it would be a very easy place for them to get any of their videos.
That's a good point, Danny. So what we've done as well for 601s is we've made a place over here because 601s get some extra sessions. So they'll have a town hall. They'll have some extra coaching sessions. And so we've made a place, and I'll show you that. Thank you, Danny. As a reminder, what we've done for them is because they'll have more than just their class video every week. We've made them a video library over here where we'll have class sessions, the extra coaching session, the town hall, that will build. We've got one already. We got one document in there already for them. And we've got Zoom tutorial link for them as well that you won't have in your shells. And we have really made their shell really easy to use and flow logically. We've taken a lot of those old videos out. We'll do our own live. And that brings me to this notion of, oh, it's just easier for me to sit down this week and video all this stuff on my own, just post the video. Don't do that. Get your coach to cover for you that week if you can't come on. But these canned videos for class, that's going to get us in trouble with CAPE. They consider that to be a correspondence course. You know, you're supposed to have regular and sustained feedback with these people, but you're supposed to come on live. You can't just video 60 minutes of you talking about a school budget and post it and say that's class this week.
Dale, what's in the Zoom tutorial?
It tells them how to do Zoom.
Okay.
This is getting started with and a live training from the actual Zoom people.
Okay.
I mean, this is. I told them we're having town hall next. We're having town hall next Monday night with all 601s. I've already told them to go to Zoom and upload it on their computer. At that time, I will direct them because I know shells will be up and running by them. I'll direct them to get started with Zoom and Zoom live training. Now, the reason why I had them go ahead and upload Zoom on their computer is they'll find out if their technology will support Zoom or not long before next Monday when they're going to need it. It gives them a week to figure out, wait a minute, it doesn't work on this pad or this tablet. Or it doesn't work, I don't get the same features on my phone. And it gives them a week to figure out what they need to do to get ready for class. So I went ahead and I sent it out a reminder Friday and told them go ahead and upload Zoom on your device and make sure it works. And I've already had feedback from some. It doesn't work on my tablet or my iPad. Well, duh. That's not an approved technology device for them. You know, we told you during the admissions process the technology you would have to have. It didn't have anything about having an iPad mini on there. It told you what you'd have to have for this program, and this kind of enforces that, so that by the time that we get started in class next week, they'll be ready to roll on Zoom.
That's good. That's good insight.
Mm-hmm.
That's good insight.
Yeah, we've had in the past, we've had too many of them the first night of class, Danny can tell you, we got 1,000 emails and phone calls and texts. It doesn't work. Well, you should have known that before tonight.
Dr. Lamb, I also went in and I put in my announcement section, I reminded them in my announcements this week of what you just said, because they need to see things in more than one place. So I've told them prior to our town hall next Monday that they need to have all of this taken care of, and they need to be familiar with Blackboard and complete as much as they can, even before our town hall meeting on Monday.
Right. And so if you want to do that, excellent point, Danny. Go back to My Gardner Web, and you see you've got a course availability post announcement right there. You can post an announcement to your students right here under quickly if you want to send things. And so that's what Danny's talking about. He went under post announcements and he sent them a reminder. I sent an email. He sent them a reminder that they need to have their Zoom business in order by the time we start on Monday with the town hall. You know, if your technology doesn't support it, you need to get you some technology so that we're ready to roll on class on Tuesday. And see, that solves a lot of their frustrations. Even though it's their problem, they're mad at us that their technology doesn't work. Can't make this up. I'm not smart enough. And so they're angry at us that their technology didn't follow directions and their technology didn't work for them. Okay, we'll take that. So we've now addressed that. You should, we're giving you an opportunity here to get your house in order before we start so that you're ready to roll when classes begin.
And Dr. Lamb, all courses are available now, and they need to check course availability to make sure that theirs is on.
Yes, the only thing that's not on is my doctoral courses are
right, but our classes are on.
Right, you can see all MELS classes are on. Doctoral classes aren't available yet.
So do we have a class list that you're going to be able to give us so I can start getting my paperwork ready?
Oh yes.
Okay,
yes.
great.
I got those should be loaded now. Now, what you really need to do is have your instructor share that with you, because they've got them. They've got their class list. They won't be in your shell yet, but Barbara can share the class list with you. Instructors, make sure you share your class list with. That will make it quicker and faster. Share your class list with your coach. I will go and put those in. I can't put them in yet. They have to be registered for $697. But I will, as you know, I will go to your clinical intern shell, and everybody has one except for Jamal, and I'll get him one made. I will go in once the 697s are all in. See, they have to be available for me to add them as users. For example, I want to add mine to my students, because Danny's coaching mine. When I open that up, they have to be registered for $697 under users and groups. Under users, they won't be available for me to add to his shell until they're registered for $697. And Seth's working on that now. And so I'll take some of the old ones out and put his new ones in. Find users to enroll until they're enrolled in 697. When I click on that button, they won't be there. So I can't put them in yours yet, but your instructor can tell you who they are. Okay. And so I will have those loaded this week, and I will go in and have them actually uploaded in your shell by the time classes start. Hopefully I'll get that done fairly quickly this week.
So is that the Excel sheet that shows the school and all that kind of information?
I got the first copy of that Friday, the Crystal Report Viewer. I only got it Friday. We don't have it I have it, and I will get that out to you. The final one, as I said, we were still adding students. You saw just a few minutes ago on my phone. I think we've gotten 2 this morning. Got one Friday.
It's just helpful to get it early so I have some little paperwork that I set up so I'm ready to roll. And
Right. I'm gonna get coaches.
sound like I know who they are.
I'm gonna get coaches up to speed on them. There's another one this morning. This week, I will have, you can get your names from an email addresses from your instructor. Instructors, what you can do to get your names and email addresses for you, simply go to Home Looking Glass, go to Manage Classes, Email Classes, and you can send an email and go to Fall 18, select term, go to your new classes. There we go, down at the bottom. And there, Gene, you can do that. I mean, Barbara, you can do that. And then you can copy and paste this to Gene. This is Danny's class for me. And it has their email addresses. This is the way you can get the information to contact them before it's actually in Blackboard for you. And then I can send you the Crystal Report Viewer, and you can look for your people on that and find them. And I'll get Seth to run us after today. Hopefully by tomorrow we'll have a more finalized list. I won't run it again today because I know there's been additions since Friday. We'll have Seth run you one tomorrow. I'll send you a Crystal Report Viewer. Now, it won't be like I normally do it with the tabs. You know, that comes later whenever I have all the tabs where everybody is. Remember, we hadn't even got to the semester yet, but I want you to have the information. You'll know who your instructor can tell your coaches who's going to be in your class by simply doing a copy and paste from this. I'll send out the list, and you'll be able to see them. I did some preliminary work on assignments Friday, but again, I'm not going to dive into that until tomorrow when I get the final list. Because there'll be a lot different tomorrow than there was on Friday.
Well, did you, Katie, the student we talked about, did she get all her stuff in, or do you know?
Let me look. They were still enrolling on Friday. Let me look.
She sent me a text that she thought everything was complete. And
He's on there.
Okay.
I remember because I've already put your name next to hers. That's why I was talking about. I was doing some preliminary work on that on Friday to get an idea where everybody is and kind of look at them in general. We have a lot more North Carolina people this time than South Carolina. It's different than last spring. So I was looking at that. Let me move that out of the way. I was looking at that Friday. Yeah, I was already made me a document to look at it. Again, I'm going to have to wait until the final one comes. But Katie is on there, as you can see. Get that out of the way. And
yeah, she's full masters too.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah. So yeah, I've got her on there. And so just looking at these, and see, I made a couple of sheets here just to get some idea for myself. It looks like we have in North Carolina, it looks as of Friday, and we gained a few more. We had 110 as of Friday. In South Carolina, we only had 40. So I don't know why we only have 40 from South Carolina. I know there's more than that pending, and so that's why I said I'm hesitating till I see the updates this week, because I know that we're going to have more than 40 South Carolina students. But right now, that's all it populated on the report as of Friday that Seth ran for me. And that was why I'm kind of stopped until after today. And I'll follow up tomorrow to see, is there a reason why we haven't populated the South Carolina people yet? I'm expecting probably in the neighborhood of 20 more of them. But I may be wrong. They may but from the preliminary work that I saw, we should have more than this. And I know they're enrolling more today, so we'll just have to be patient. But I'll share with you, if they tell me we're pretty good tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll send this list out in tabs like this, and you can see the North and South Carolina people. And I'll go ahead and designate who they'll have for CC1s. I'll get that out immediately. It may be Wednesday before a more finalized version comes. But as soon as I have it, you will have it. And that's,
Do you have any idea when the CC1s will be able to have seen their students so that we can sort of talk about that?
Well, that's what I was just referring to, Gina. I'll try to have it to you by Wednesday.
Okay.
That was the point of this, is they're not all in there yet.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is I don't want to make it sound like the CC1 is coming to their school like the next couple of days if it's going to take a little bit longer. So
3 weeks. We'll be there within 3 weeks at the beginning of the semester. Somebody will be on their campus within 3 weeks.
Great. That's a good thing for us to be able to reinforce.
Yeah.
Because that makes them feel a little bit better about it. Nobody's come. When are they coming? So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Gene. As soon as I know I get a more permanent list of these, I will go ahead and assign them by proximity. I'll get that out to you. Should be Wednesday of this week, I'm hoping, that I'll have a more permanent list. Once you get that, you can start contacting them for visits for CC1s. We're kind of transitioning now from coaches to CC1s. Coaches, you can get your list of who you're going to be coaching from your instructor with their email.
I think it's good for the CC2s to make sure that they assure the student that the CC1 is coming, that they're not being left out. That's why I wanted to sort of get a timeline.
Exactly.
Thanks.
So coaches, you'll know who your folks are. You can tell them that CC1s are coming. Hopefully CC1s, I'll have your information as soon as I get the final or the most recent list on Wednesday. They should be updated. They're adding today and tomorrow. And so Wednesday, I should have a more complete list of these. I will get these to you. I've already done some preliminary looks on these, and so I'll get these to you this week where you can contact them. And that leads me into my next area here. Which is to talk about these things, Blackboard and task stream requirements, and that will include coaches and definitions and visits and those kinds of things. I think that's where we're up to now on our agenda. Let's see. Yes, that should be it. Yep, that's where we are. We're at Session 3, task stream requirements by cohort. We have finished those two, the Blackboard shells. All right, so we're right on schedule then. All right, so let's look at that. All right, for fall 17 full 5-semester master's programs, those students this semester, they're the oldest ones we have. They're in 604 with Dr. Sanders this semester. They've got to do their Blackboard coursework per their instructor to include discussion boards, assignment, and peer reviews. This is for the folks who are working with Dr. Sanders and for her as well. In task stream, they've got to complete the remainder of the skip and all the cap. They should have come out of 603 with at least half of the skip done. They've got to finish it up and do the cap this semester. They've got to do their second round. They got to make sure that their second round of 21 competencies has been completed in their competency folio. You know, they have a separate folio for their artifacts. They got to make sure that those are done the second round. Now, they did half of them in 603. They did the other half in 604. That's what Gene was talking about. We still have some 5-semester people. They did 13 competencies with the OMA. They'll do 9 with the skip, and they will put, those will be done, and they will put artifacts of those in their competency folio this semester. There's no dispositions or competency analysis this semester for 604s, and they'll do their 80 hours of clinical suggested activities on their internship logs and competency and comments requested on their folio. That's what they do for them this semester. Now, as a reminder, I sent you these. Students are going to ask you, even students in 604, 605, 603, where do I get my artifacts to put in my competency folio? Competency analysis, they write what they did. Competency folio is where they have to upload things that show proof that they did those things, those artifacts. And so I gave you 2 documents. One of them is open-ended. When it says in their competency folio, you have to do 2 from your evidence artifacts and 1 open-ended. They'll ask, well, where would I find, you know, something that's an open-ended competency, an artifact from that right here? If they address a large or small group of adults, that could be a communication and competency. If they've got an agenda or minutes, that's what we want to see. I don't want you to tell us about it. You already told us about it in competency analysis. I want to see something that was generated from that. An agenda, some minutes, a pamphlet, a picture of you up in front of these people. That's what I want to see in your competency folio. So we've got all your open-ended opportunities are mapped out here by competency. I mean, it couldn't be any easier for them than that. By competency, I've got it mapped out for you here. And they say, well, where do I find the ones for evidence artifacts? I sent you that document too. Email permission from your principal to start a PLC. That would be an example of an artifact for any of these 5 competencies, 1, 3, 6, 12, and 20. And you say, well, what are they? Well, they're right here. 1 is communication, 3 is conflict management, 6 is delegation, for example. So where they will find their artifacts or the competency folio from the evidence artifact work that they do. That's why they're called evidence artifacts. They produce a written evidence narrative of what they did, and that will generate artifacts that show that they actually did it. That's why we call them evidence artifacts. The things that they write and put in task stream are evidences. They are not artifacts. Artifacts are things. It's not a narrative.
Is this available in the Blackboard
Mm-hmm.
shell? Where is it at? Because I emailed it to them, but I want to make it.
It should be under. It should be under intern materials. If you don't have it,
okay,
you've got it in this, and you can upload it yourself. It should be under intern material.
Okay.
Now that won't. You know.
It was attached to your memo.
Yes.
That had the long list
Right.
of things.
All
All of these are attached to that memo at the bottom.
Right, and you can put it in your coaching shell, and you can. It should be in your class shell under intern materials.
Yeah, I got the email thing. I wanted to make sure
it's the same.
Just check intern materials in your class shell. Should be there. All right, so that's where you. So that's what's due for the folks who are in 604 this semester, and this is a reminder for us all as to where we can find those things. All right. For your spring 18 5 full semester program there in 603, there's 1 class of them. Phyllis has them this semester. They do all of the OMA and task 1 and 2 of the skip. They do the second half of the 21 competency proofs uploaded and comments requested in their competency folio. That's what we're just talking about. They do have SOE dispositions and competency analysis. Remember, competency analysis is when they tell us in a narrative form how they met their competency. That's what competency analysis is. Competency folio is where we put the artifacts, the actual things that were generated. then they have 80 hours of activities as well. Our spring 18 3-semester add-on folks are in 605 this semester. They have to complete the CAP and the SOP. They should have been through task 1 of the CAP. They should be up to doing their qualitative work in the CAP now. In task 2, where they go out and ask folks why those areas were low, and here are the recommendations we made. You think these will work at our school? That's where they should all be, starting 605. Now, we had to stop them at CAP task 1 in the summer because there wasn't anybody in their school to do their qualitative work. Remember, qualitative is interviews and observations. They did their quantitative work in task 1, where they analyzed their teacher working conditions survey in North Carolina and their advanced ed survey in South Carolina, and found their weak areas. Now this fall, they're to go out and start with their qualitative work now that we're back in school. So that's where they are for those folks. They have to do, obviously, a whole round of competencies this semester, all 21 in their competency folio. Remember, the 3-semester folks have to do a whole round every semester. It's the 5-semester folks that do them in halves. And there is, once they get it completed, they've uploaded it and requested comments, and their coaches said it's good. There's the link on watching a 2.5-minute video on how to upload it for evaluation. It's right there. That's just a 2.5-minute video. Remember, the competency folio has to be uploaded into the DRF portfolio for evaluation, but don't have them uploaded until it's complete. They can request comments on it, and you can go in and look. And once they have all 3 rounds of their 21 competencies done, you have them submit it for evaluation in your DRF portfolio. And there's a little video to help them do that. It's quick and easy. And of course, they have to do their dispositions and their analysis in their final semester, along with their 80 hours of clinical work. So that's what's due for the 605 add-ons this semester.
Dr. Lamb, just a reminder, those that are teaching 605 add-on, there are a handful of students that completely finished their CAP, and it has been locked in task stream already this summer. There's not many of them, but there are some. So you would need to be aware of that when requiring work from them when we start.
Right. We've got some that we were able to get them, or Danny was able to get them. They were able to get their qualitative work done before school was out, or were in year-round schools. We had some in year-round schools that were able to do their qualitative work this summer. That qualitative piece in the CAP is very important. It's probably the most important in that one of any of them, because it's cultural advocacy. It's about the culture and climate of your school. And qualitative work, qualitative data is most relevant to culture and climate. So I really want, we want to make sure that they get that qualitative work done, where they go and ask people and they observe. If it's important, you'll ask. All right. So now for our 601s that are starting this semester with us, the 5-semester regular program, that's Karen and Jeff's classes. They'll have their coursework, discussion boards, assignments, case studies, peer reviews. They do the AppSell this semester, all 5 tasks. They upload and create their own competency folio, and there's a short video to do that. How to do it, it's less, I think it's 4 minutes on how to upload and how to create and upload your own competency folio. They have to do 13 competencies in the AppSell, including the embedded digital learning competencies. I've embedded those in those, so it's not something extra for them to do. So that's what the regulars do this semester. For the add-ons for me and Danny and Barbara this semester, same thing, except they have to do the AppTel as well. And so that means they have to do a whole round, of course, of 21 competencies in their folio. And there's the link for us to use as well for students to create their own competency folio. All right. Now, clinical coaches too have an internship shell in Blackboard. As I said, Jamal doesn't have one yet, but I'll get one for him this week. And you'll continue with your shell that you've been using. And I'll take out the completed students and I'll add the new ones in as soon as all of them are enrolled in 697. And again, we can't do that until they all get registered. And we're still working on that part right now. But we're ahead of where we used to be. We won't be 4 or 5 weeks. You'll be able to be on the road visiting students next week. Clinical as clinical coach ones. Clinical coach ones make site visits to the new candidates before the end of September. Now, I'd like for it to be in the first 3 weeks, but I understand you'll get some that you'll have to reschedule and go later. But I want it to be done in the first 3 weeks of September that we'll have it done. And that last week will be for reschedules. Folks that couldn't do it. And you'll share out there, you'll share the site mentor handbook and the internship handbook. Again, they're the same thing. I want them to be the same thing. I want them both to have the same story. I don't want one to have more information than the other. If you've previously made a site visit to an intern, you can do Zoom sessions with them unless they request another visit, unless they've moved or they have a new site mentor. Or in case I've had a couple recently, if the site mentor wants a visit, then you need to go make the visit. Otherwise, you can do Zooms if they're continuing students. Or if you deem it necessary because they're not doing well. I am going to send CC1 to visit the student that I worked with after summer school this summer that called me earlier. Their coach needs to go visit with her. I'll talk to her today and tell her that we're coming to see her. We can do that now that we're back in session. One of the ones that I was working with this summer that we weren't in session, I went and visited her last week. But we'll go visit Sharon next week probably. I'd like for the CC1 to go see her again. She struggled through 603. All right. And so just to summarize so that everybody knows how it works again, all beginning 601 students are assigned a CC1 and a CC2. The CC1 makes the initial visit. The CC2 works with the instructor and coaches the work. And at the site mentor is to monitor the list of activities, and they have to sign off at the end of every semester. We do that because we have so much movement and change. If we just wait to the end, we get into trouble. 40% of our students don't end up either in the same place or with the site mentor by the end of the time that the program is over with. So that's why we do it by semester. So if you get a new site mentor and you're in your 5th semester and they've only seen you for one, they only have to sign off on the one they saw you. You've got 4 signed ones already uploaded and cataloged for us for the first 4 semesters. And that way we don't get into a problem with, oh, I've only seen this student for 1 semester. I'm not signing off on these other things that they did. That's no problem. That person's already signed off on it. So that's why we get it done by semester, because we have so much movement.
What happened to Julie Holbrook? You know who I'm talking?
Yeah.
She was in and out and.
Out right now.
She's out again. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No task stream or Blackboard requirements for site mentors. That's very important. They complained vehemently to DPI, and so that was changed. All they've got to do is sign the log at the end of the semester. They don't have a Blackboard login. They don't have to go to task stream. They don't have a task stream login anymore. They don't have to do any of that work. They just sign off on the log at the end of the semester. That eases their mind as well. When I used to have to tell them I was going to have to train them and use a Blackboard to get in, that didn't make for happy campers. They didn't want to have to learn something else. So that makes them happy. Now, you meet with the intern and you reiterate what we've covered in our town hall and in our classes about Blackboard class shell, and that they'll have an internship shell with their coach. You should have already gotten in touch with them. That they'll have to establish a task stream account. I don't expect you to cover task stream functions with them, but that there will be task stream functions that will be covered with them once they have an account. You just have to remind them of that. You don't have to sit and go into task stream with them. They probably won't have an account at that time. I'm trying to get them fairly quickly. But CC1s just basically reiterate, you got a class shell, you have an instructor, you have a coach's shell, you have a coach, you will have a Blackboard shell that has both a DRF for your evidence artifact work and a competency folio to put your artifacts in. I just need for you to make sure that we're consistent in the message, and that every time they hear that from us, so that's an expectation. As Danny said a few minutes ago, they can't hear it enough, and in multiple places, in multiple ways, they can't hear it enough. Goes back to that research that I was reading yesterday. You keep having to remind them of what the requirements are and what they're going to be doing. That helps with retention. Coach 1 operation compensation is 50 plus travel plus intern per visit. Second semester you have them, you don't have to visit, you still get the 50. You just Zoom with them. And it tells you, no comments or reviewing Blackboard task stream work. You just go out and do your 1 hour visit. And it has everything that you do with them when you get there. Coach 2 operational, you get 150 per student per semester. You don't do site visits. Now you partner with the instructor and do the entire class. You coordinate the peer review process with the instructor. That's according to the give and take of how you work with one another. And then it has the rest of the activities that you're involved in as a CC2. This model seems to work pretty well. It keeps us off the road all the time, and it goes well. And then, of course, the last function, and I don't have it on this list, the last function is the evaluation function. That person gets paid $50, and they simply evaluate the work per the rubric, and that's it. That's all they have to do. They're not to be in touch with students. They don't have to coach students. They just if the work has to be sent back, they just have to tell them what part needs to be fixed. That's it. Students should know if they have work sent back that their coach is there to help them. And so evaluators, I'm going to work with them to make sure that when they send work back, that the coach is notified as well. That's the only thing that they have to do, is just notify the coach that you sent work back. Or notify me and I'll notify the coach. That may be a better system. We don't have that a lot, but if it can happen, we need a system in place. So I'll just have them notify me. So that way you'll know whose work got sent back and you can work with them. So that's pretty much all the roles in Blackboard and TaskStream.
Dale.
Yes, sir.
This is Rod. Let me ask you a quick question. When do you know when their TaskStream accounts will be up? Because in the past,
I talked with Seth about that. We're hoping by the end of the first week of classes.
Okay, good. Because I just didn't know. Because in the past,
That's what I'm talking about. He has to wait till they're all registered.
Okay, great.
And then he has to do batch enrollments somehow. So we can't start that until we're pretty complete on our enrollment. And as I said, they're enrolling students this week still. They'll enroll them up until the first day of classes. So probably next Monday, we're going to attempt to start looking at creating TaskStream accounts. Hopefully we'll have everybody by the end of the day next Monday. We shouldn't have any new people, and we can start batch enrolling in TaskStream.
Okay,
so that means by the end of that first week. And so, yes, that's a great question, Rod. So that's when we're wanting to do it. All right. Let's go back to our agenda. All right. We're at our last session today. Zoom and YouTube. If you don't have a professional account, you need to get in touch with me, and I'll see if I can get a license for you through Cheryl Lutz, Dr. Lutz, if you don't have a professional Zoom account. Zoom, the free accounts will only do 40 minutes, and you can't do as much. Now, those are fine for students, but you need to have a professional Zoom account so you can do your classes and your coaching sessions and have all the functions and have the time that you need to do those. So make sure that you do that. Now, so let's talk about Zoom and Zoom functions. If you want to set up a Zoom room with the notifications and it's the same number each time and the same link, Danny will help you with that. I don't do that except for my coaching shells, and I'll tell you why. When students try to use that link, I do so many different Zooms in so many different roles. It will only let me do one room, and that link gets sent to the wrong people too many times, unfortunately, and it bounces when people try to schedule that themselves. They send out a notification of a meeting at the same time of mine rather than they're joining mine. So I send out links, like for town hall, I only use the schedule for town hall. For my individual ones that I'm doing, I send mine out right before. But if you want to set you one up because you're only doing one type of meeting, Danny is the person that will work with you to set up.
Dale, remember, we decided not to do that. We decided last semester not to do that with the room. So
that's what I said. I prefer that, but if you just dying to do it, yeah. I'm not going to teach you how because I don't.
Yeah. I'll talk anybody through it, but I would advise you not to do that.
Yeah, exactly. We advise you not.
But call me if you need to talk. We need to talk about it.
Yeah, Danny will help. But I advise you not to do that because it bounces. People get random notifications. People try to send e-bites back or acceptance back, and it spams new meeting codes and numbers and time. We've had an awful time with that. We've discontinued the use of that. But if you feel like you need it, that you can't remember or whatever, Danny can work with you. But again, I'm as chair, I'm not going to because I don't want you. I would prefer that not be used.
I don't think I'll get any calls, but anyway, I'm here if you need me.
Danny will help you.
How about setting up the class meeting as a recurring meeting if you're meeting every Tuesday at 7 o'clock or something?
That's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
That's the one that gets messed up. Okay.
Yeah. I tried it, Sarah, and it was not worth the problems that it caused. I'd rather just do it each week.
Okay.
And we tell them that, I would like for that function to work better. We've tried it. I've tried it. I'd like for it to work better. But with the new ones especially, they ended up, we ended up like with 40 or 50 different invitations running around. We just can't make it work. Maybe I'm just not smart enough, but I can't make it work because folks try to respond to that link before it's open, which creates an invitation. And then when it's time and it sends that invitation out and then they open the link and close it and then it won't open again at class time. It just got to be just a nightmare.
Okay.
Well, Dr. Lamb, one of the things with them working with more than one person, sometimes they got it confused. It became a point of confusion. So this just made it easier, we decided. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in practicality, we just couldn't make it work. And again, that may have been just our lack, but we felt like we understood what we were doing. We just, the students did, and we just couldn't make it work. So it was easier just to send them out at the time. It created a lot less confusion. So again, I know you know how to use Zoom. You get on, you invite your participants. You send them the email link. I use the class email to send mine out. You can create you some folders to do that. But again, if you go to Looking Glass and go to email classes, it'll set your email up for you. It will email your classes you can do the same thing for your clinicals, for your interns. This thing may have timed me out. It did. Let's see if it'll go back. There they are. All right. So with this group is my smallest group. This is the 12 group. This is one that's still building. There'll be probably 10 more in there in another 2 or 3 days. But if I wanted to get in touch with them, I get my Zoom link, I copy and paste it in here. Just like that. I've already copied my Zoom link and I send it to them. I much prefer that system than the automatic room reserve, where I just do that. I go into Zoom, invite participants, open up, and it opens up an email. I copy and paste and put it in this one. Or you can set yours up where when it opens your email, it's already the people you want it already in it. I don't suggest doing that. Outlook is not compatible with Zoom. So you have to use a third party like Gmail or Yahoo to send those. Outlook won't work. Outlook is not compatible with Zoom. So when you try to set up your default emails, when you go into Zoom and you go to invite, let's see. When you go to invite, as you can see, you can't really set up Outlook as your default. I use Gmail on this one. When I click on Gmail, it populates immediately, and then I just copy and paste that announcement into my email students. When I click on Gmail, it'll populate immediately. I do a copy. Just close that email. Go back here and post it. That's the way I send mine, and I do that 5 minutes, 10 minutes before class, before the sessions. And that way they don't have time to bounce around. And they can't try to respond back or put it on their calendar. When they try to put it on their Outlook calendar, that's when it goes crazy. And don't try to use Outlook as your default email. It's not compatible. That's when we get all these spams. Use either Gmail or Yahoo, copy and paste it into the box. You'll have much better results than if you try to set up Outlook as a default. So that's sending them out. Instructors, if you know you can't make a week, get your coach to cover for you to do that week's lesson. Steve did mine this summer. When I was out of town for a week, Steve came online, did a great job. He came on and did mine because he was coaching with me this summer, and so he did mine. Somebody should be online every week. Send them the notice on a weekly basis. If you've been using the standardized room and it's working for you, I won't tell you to quit. But if you have problems, there's not a lot I can do to help you. Danny Mike can answer some questions for you. But it's a compatibility issue between Outlook, especially the calendar, and Zoom. Zoom is much more compatible with Apple than it is with Outlook with Microsoft, which is a Microsoft product. All right, so that's how you do that. Now, you notice that I had a Gmail account. In order to, everybody knows this, but I'll just as a reminder, you know, when you get through, it's automatically going to process your video, and it's going to show up in a Zoom folder. That's automatically created on your hard drive. And it will show up like this, but it'll say Zoom 0. You know, you got to go in and rename it to whatever you've got. Once you rename it, you can then upload it to YouTube. In order to create your own YouTube channel, all you have to have is your Gmail address. I go to my YouTube channel. And I know that I'm on my channel because my name pops up here, and I can go to my channel, and it's got all the things that I've done here on my channel. And this is, of course, where you upload. This is your upload button here. And you simply upload here, make sure it's public. Go to your Zoom channel, find the one that you this MELS faculty meeting. You upload your, click on it, hit open it automatically, and then you just hit publish. And it will generate for you the link. Everybody knows how this works. It'll generate for you the link, and that's what you put in your weekly session, and that's what you put in your video library so that students can go back. It's really easy. I know all of you know how to do it. The main thing is making sure you have your own channel so that you can have, and that you've got it on the public setting. Don't try to do those release or part of it's everything that we do should be public because it's going to get shared anyway. Make sure that everything we do is shareable so that you got it on the public setting here so that everybody can see the link.
I thought we put that as not listed.
Well, then that becomes a problem.
Okay.
That becomes the problem in that that everybody can't see it.
Okay.
So I've decided that that's part of the issue this morning. I've had so many problems in the past with those unlisted ones. Just put it under public.
Okay.
We don't care if people see our work. We're proud of it.
Okay. Fine.
Excellent.
I've never had a problem with it.
Well, your students won't have, but if they try to share it with somebody else, or if we try to go and look at it, just like we discovered, just like during the CAPE process, when we got those links, if they weren't public, they couldn't be viewed by outside viewers. Only the people who are in the group can view those. And these are supposed to be public record. We're trying to make a video library of these. You heard Dr. Bullock, you were on this earlier. We're trying to make a video library of these things. And some of these classes or sessions that we hold, and if they're not in the group, then they're no good for our library. They have to be public first to put them in the library. And we're cataloging and archiving all of these things that we're doing. We're doing that for CAPE evidence. We have to have all this stuff. It has to be public. If anybody besides the people in your class are going to view it, it has to be under the public setting. Dr. Bull came on this morning and welcome if you weren't here and reminded me again that all these need to be public so that we can archive them. That was the problem with some of the things that we were trying to look at during the CAPE process.
Dale, in some of the videos, because I was like Dr. Whitaker, I remember the initial training on this was to make these unlisted, but and I had no problem with making it public, but sometimes some of the candidates will share something about their personal situation, and that kind of pulls up a little bit of flag for me. How should we handle that kind of situation?
Well, what Danny and I have started doing is we mute everybody, and we have them use the chat function, which does not get recorded. And we'll tell them that we'll chat with you if you want to chat more than that. We'll chat with you afterwards. But if you use the chat function, if you'll notice that does not record.
Okay, I didn't know that.
They'll share with us. We'll have them share with us under the chat function. And instead of saying it live and out loud,
yeah,
it gets recorded. So as a matter of course, we tell them every week, we're gonna mute you all now. If you have questions or something that you need to share private, they can choose the private function under chat, and only we see it. But none of the chats get recorded.
Okay, good. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question, Joey. Absolutely. That's the way you handle that, because students sometimes want to blurt things out like, my principal's an idiot. Well, he might be, but don't tell everybody, because this is going to be public. You write that to us, and nobody will see it but us. Oh, that reminds me, we had a little reception last spring in DEOL, and our Saturday classes for our doctorals. One of the students that was in the class that I was going to have next, she slipped over and she was talking with me and one of the students. She didn't know who either one of us was. And said, how is the instructor in that class you've got now? We're going to have him next semester. I told her, well, he's a butthole and a know-it-all. And she said, really? I said, you better believe it. And went on about my business. I mean, you know, you don't really want to say things like that out in public, but that's a reminder of that. And of course, she was kind of shocked when she saw me the next semester that I was the actual. But she'll say, you were truthful. She reminded me that I was truthful. But yes, we're archiving all these now, and that was my point of coming here this morning. I know you know all this stuff, but now make sure they're all public. And again, Joyce brought a good point. Remind students that these are public, that if they have private things they need to share with you, they can use the chat function, and they can use it privately where even their classmates can't see it. And if they want to request a meeting with you or talk with you, they can do it through the chat. That way nobody will even know.
Well, I have had one-on-one Zoom conferences with students, and those aren't recorded. So
that's correct. That's correct.
Fine. Right. Yeah.
I do that often, and I never record one-on-one Zoom conferences because they are personal and privileged in content. But our classes and our coaching sessions have to be public. And if somebody needs to Zoom with me individually, we'll do that after class or at their convenience, and we do not record those, because I would be the one that would mistakenly post one of those somewhere. I'd be the idiot that did that.
And if we set up office hours, those don't need to be Zoomed either.
No. Those are all private conversations.
Okay.
Just your public meetings need to be public.
Okay.
Class sessions and your coaching sessions that we advertise that we're going to do and that we are evaluated on by CAPE standards, those have to be public so they can be viewed. The private sessions need to stay private. And the best way that is just don't record them. I've just made it my policy. I don't record any of those. Now you could put it on a private setting where you would have it, but I have a problem with that when we're doing confidential meetings. I really don't want those to be recorded, because stuff that gets recorded finds its way to social media, and you know that as well as I do.
We see that on the news almost every day now.
That's correct. And so the safeguard against that is just don't hit that record button. Record the ones you're supposed to and don't record the ones you're not. That's a good point. Excellent point. All right. You know the scale handbook, everything is cross-referenced in here. I'm kind of following up, I'm kind of going into the benediction here. Starting, I hear the notes of Just As I Am playing now. We're getting toward the end here. You know, this is our Bible. This is, everything is in here. Refer all students and comments back to this. We will begin the process. This is a 2017 version. These are supposed to be good for 3 years. Of course, at some time in the spring, we'll start looking at a revision for the fall. But this one is still good. Let's see, it was 17, 18, 18, 19. We'll need, you know, we'll start in the spring looking at revisions. They won't take place, and you know, it takes a while to revise one of these. But again, we're in 17, 18, 18, 19. We're in the second full year of this iteration right now, and we'll continue with it, and we'll begin to have discussions about revisions on it for another year. But we're still good right now on that. I'm gonna close my YouTube channel. Let me move this out of the way and see what I haven't.
Does everyone but me know what SCALE stands for?
That's the Scale Center at Stanford University. Because much of this work comes from them. We have to, and it's copyrighted, we have to give them credit. That's why it's called the Scale Handbook. There's a Scale Assessment Center at Stanford.
Thank you ever so much.
We actually went to learn something. So it's, you didn't think we were smart enough to create all this stuff, did you? This is actually research-based from beginning to end. And you can Google and you can read some things. You'll see the similarities from the Scale Center at Stanford. So that's where much of this came from. All right. Look at that. I got through 4 minutes early. Miracle of all miracles.
Well, we got the benediction. We need to take up the offering.
No, don't need an offering today. What questions do you have for me now? Open it up to the floor. I thank you for being with me. I know this has been long and a grind this morning, but I thought we could do it in 3 hours and be done with it and be out by lunchtime rather than let it drag on to a full day. I appreciate you playing along and being with me. Things are going well. I couldn't be more pleased. We just need to get better every day, serve our clients as best we can. Word of mouth, populating our doctoral programs. We have a lot of responsibility here. We're the biggest master's program on campus, and folks depend on us to pay the bills. But more importantly, folks out in the field depend upon us to provide them quality candidates. And candidates rely on us to provide to them what they paid us for. And that's what I'm committed for us to do every day is to give them what they paid us for. I want us to be good, and I want us to be better every day that we can be better. To that end, I thank Dr. Sanders, who a partner that works with me on a regular basis, and Dr. Stone, our new person who is now in partnership with us as he moves into working with clinicals. To continue to provide the service that we've been famous for. I want to see that continue. And I appreciate all of you that work with us on a regular basis. Again, I'll have the things that I promised you. I should have a list of clinicals to you by Wednesday, a more complete list. We'll try to get them in TaskStream. I'll try to get them in Blackboard as soon as I can get them registered for $6.97. I can put them in Blackboard in your clinical shell. See, they're only registering for their class to begin with. Then they register for their clinical later on. They don't have time to do all of that up front. So as soon as they get registered for 697, I'll drop them in your internship. Okay. All right. So I'm getting thanks. That's very good. Again, thank you everybody for coming. If there are any more questions, if not, please remember that in January we'll try to do a face-to-face if we can find some money. Dr. Bull is committed to that, and he wants us to do that. Jamal, if you're still online, I will start sending you some materials after all these things that we shared today. I will send those to you now that you kind of understand. Dr. Bull wanted to say goodbye. Let me see.
Are we going to continue our every other week meeting?
Yes, we will. We will. Okay. This coming Monday, the
town hall.
I've got the town hall, so that's why I'm on today. We'll skip Monday.
Okay.
We'll catch up that following Monday, which is the 3rd. I guess that's Labor Day, isn't it?
Yep.
Do we need to maybe move it to a day next week rather than Labor Day?
No, Labor Day's fine.
Labor Day's fine with me.
Yeah, fine with me too.
Labor Day's fine with me.
Okay, me too.
We'll just labor together.
So we have the town hall next week, and then the following week we will meet on the 3rd.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What time will the third session, what time will the session?
I like to do those at 6 because some folks teach twice.
Turn back. We can't hear you.
Just a second. 6. We try to do the faculty meetings at 6. So that people do class. Some people have Monday class and they do those at 7. It allows them to join in, or they have coaching sessions sometimes. So I do the faculty meetings at 6. We'll do the town hall. Danny, when we're doing town hall at 6 on Monday.
I thought it was 7.
I believe it is 7. That's what I was talking about. I think we're doing it. Let me see. I sent out an email.
The email I think said 7. Anybody else?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're doing that one Monday. We can't do we can't do town hall on Monday because we're going to be.
What?
We can't do faculty meeting Monday because we're doing the town hall. I think it's at 7. I'll have to look and make sure.
I think it is 7.
Is there a town hall for the other returning students or only for 601?
I thought we would do one, but that we would put it off for a little while.
Okay.
I don't want to do it if it's just, if you folks don't think it's necessary. My plan, and I have it on my calendar here, I had it on my calendar to do it the 10th of September. You think that's too late?
No.
I mean, they know what to do.
Right.
I was just going to meet with them as a, hey, how you doing? Glad you're back kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've been in class for a week or so, anything that you need for me to be aware of kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Dale, could you invite the instructors, even if we're not doing, or if we don't have a 601 this time, just so we can.
Yeah. Everybody gets invited to the 601 town hall, and then everybody will get invited to the all town hall on the 10th. But yeah, I didn't feel I wanted them to get in their classes and get started before we did one with the returning people. I needed for them to have class one time so they would know if there was a problem or an issue. So. Let me see.
Well, while we got a lull in the system here, folks, we wrap up. Dale, I want to go on record to let you know that we appreciate your strong leadership that you provided for us the last year. I think we all feel the same way. This program has become what it has become due to your leadership and your organization. and we'll let you know how much we appreciate you and how much we appreciate all your hard work and your leadership.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Amen.
I agree to that. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Well, you know, I'm only as good as the people that work with me. I mean, that's that's clear. But I appreciate the kind words. I truly do. Not only do I want a quality experience for our candidates, I want a quality experience for our employees as well. There's no sense in us not being planned and organized, and we can have laughs and collegial behaviors. It should not be work to work at Gardner Webb. I mean, it should be the hard part should be working with students and spending time with them, not knowing what to do. It's like I tell students all the time. There's no dignity in struggle if you're trying to figure out what to do. The dignity is struggle should be trying to get it all done. You're so excited and you know what to do. But just thrashing around out in the wilderness is of no value in my opinion. Okay. He's not in his office, and so we'll go ahead and sign off then. I just called him to make sure he wanted to join us. All right. I believe that's it, folks. I will.
Thank you.
I'll record this and send you a link. I thank everybody for showing up. Thank you for all the support that you've given me personally. I will see you all soon.
Okay.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Stop share. End meeting for all.